Good evening. My name is Susan Stevenson, and I am the chair of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation. I'm calling to order this meeting of November 26, 2018. I want to make it clear that in this room, I expect everyone will speak and act with civility, and all materials and dialogue must be truthful. Anyone who intends to speak should sign in so we have the correct spelling of your name. And when you come up to address the board, please state your name and address. Any materials you have for presentation should be facing the board on this table so our videographer can pick it up. I'd like to introduce our board members: Rob Coburn, Christina Redding, Jeff Broadleib. Curtis Highsmith will not be with us tonight. Our attorney, Bo Robinson, is here. Our historic consultant, Zach Studenroth, is here in the front. And Charlie Styler is our videographer. And Antoinette is our secretary. Do I have a motion to open the meeting?
Make a motion that we open this meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation on November 26, 2018.
Second? Aye.
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 Aye. This will be for Curtis.
Great. Motion passed. Have to be doing this at the last minute. I guess this is for you, it's bad timing. Okay. Let's move right ahead. Minutes approval for October 22nd, 2018.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes for the October 22nd meeting of the ARB.
Second.
Aye.
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 Motion passed. Next, signs.
First sign is WB Wireless Incorporated on Main Street for the Verizon store. It's above store signage.
Is there anyone here? Please come forward.
I wish we could have a different sign.
Good evening.
This is the first time I've ever done.
Okay, don't be afraid. We're not doing anything to you. State your name, please.
Lori Chavez for Alley Cat Signs, 506 Middle Country Road, Middle Island, New York.
Okay, great. Proceed. Do you have a...
I have what you have, I do
Can
believe.
you put it on the table facing
That was
us,
a video, right?
please? Just because it becomes a part of the public record so people can see what we're talking about. So, here we go.
I mean, I thought you got the same.
Yes, we did, thank you.
Great.
So in this, is it passed by the ordinance?
Yeah.
Okay. So the color is a gray background, is that correct?
Gray, yeah, gray wooden background, white lettering.
Is it raised lettering?
Yeah, it looks pretty much like this, which will be flush mounted to the gray.
And
It's not purple. I just showed you
Is it
this.
plastic, or whatever that is? Composite?
Acrylic.
Acrylic?
Is it the same as the sign on Hampton Road?
No. They don't have sticking out letters, do they?
These, yes, these are the raised letters flush mounted.
Oh, okay.
So it's totally flush.
But that sign is the red background, correct?
Gray background.
I'm sorry, just to be clear, raised letters, flush mounted. So they're raised, but the backs didn't hit the board
Yes.
behind.
So they don't-
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I just want to show you these how they're attached through the back, so there's no, you don't see any of the stuff.
And are you proposing lighting for the sign as well?
Yeah, LED board right over, in that picture, you see that white?
Oh, wait a minute, no,
No.
no way,
Okay, then we'll just not.
Okay,
look
great.
at that, no problem.
no lighting. So is that on this, you'll have to amend this then, unless, are there any specs for the lighting? It doesn't show any lighting on these plans.
Shows
In
on
the
rendering
picture, it
slate.
does.
Yes, but in the specifications, is there any mention of lighting? I don't see any.
Not in this picture, no. Not in the specifications.
Shows up in the rendering.
It shows up in the rendering.
Well, how could you see it? Hello? Wait a second. It's so tiny. this.
Oh.
All right, so it doesn't actually, but what do we do? It doesn't mention lighting on the actual
Well,
spec.
she could amend it here. It doesn't mention, you can put it in if you agree that there should be lighting and what kind there should be.
No lighting. Why do they need lighting? There's the street lights right there. Are you willing to do it without the lighting?
Lighting is not unique to signs in the
Whatever
village.
works for you guys.
Okay, so how would
mean,
she
if-
amend it since there's nothing on here? Just cross out,
Put no lighting.
Yeah, just write no lighting.
At a later date, because
You could come
again,
back.
because this isn't, we just install, we don't
Of course.
do any of this.
So-
The
So
right-
we could go back to amend.
With maybe the goosenecks, like that's right next?
so I don't know where she
Is that
would-
what you guys
You would
prefer?
just write it on here?
Write it on there,
Something
yeah.
that's
Am I writing it?
compatible.
Okay.
We
Because
prefer
that's
just
less
initial.
lighting on Main Street.
And she'll
because
initial it, or?
No, you.
Oh,
But
no lighting.
we
Okay.
prefer something more traditional
Okay,
if we were to pass.
so they can come back with another whole rendering?
Yes.
And I'll show up again?
If they, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the sign for WB Wireless, for the Verizon sign on Main Street, subject to no lighting in the current approval.
Absolutely.
Second.
Aye.
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 Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Next, do you have anything for Harmony Home Concierge?
Yes.
No, I looked in there, I couldn't
There
find
are
it.
two. There's a window sign request and a above store sign request.
I couldn't find this in the file, so I need to get that.
Hi, my name's Anthony Droz. I'm representing the Harmony signs.
So we have two separate applications.
Yes.
One is for the window signage. You want to start with that?
Sure,
Is that right?
it meets the code. It's under the allowed square footage. I mean, you have the proof here. It's just white vinyl lettering and, yeah. Well, I want you to see the colors if you want to pass it around. It's
We
there.
have one over here, sir.
Okay,
So this is for the above store sign.
they're both in the same proof, to be honest. It's, the window lettering's white vinyl, and then there's a gold metallic that's just smaller section on the bottom. And then the sign is just navy blue with white and gold metallic as the accent color.
But what are these, what's this?
White, that's white lettering, white vinyl lettering. There's three sections for the window lettering. So you have these two on each window, just their logo, and then below it, it's the logo with some information, and then the gold accent as that's their color.
I'm not crazy about those, the ones in the circular things.
My impression was I like the sign above the store quite a bit. It's handsome and simple. The windows are busy. It's a lot
Okay.
of
Yes,
branding and
I
wording.
don't,
Okay.
I don't think we usually have this kind of branding on both windows.
I mean, we often allow certainly
here-
a logo and some information on a window, but maybe not every window.
Okay, so if we reduced it to just one of the windows, would that be sufficient?
No. I think this, you have the name here, you have a sign right here, and this, I don't know what to call that, your brand?
I'm not sure why the circle was chosen specifically, but that is their logo inside.
Right, that's what I
the
think,
H.
we shouldn't have this,
One logo in the middle.
Yeah. We need to get rid of.
Can we, since they are separate applications, could we, does anyone want to discuss more the
okay, let's do the
up top?
sign. I don't have an objection to the sign up top.
Okay.
Is there public comment?
Is there any public comment on the sign up top? Okay, and these are the colors, correct?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the sign above the store for Harmony
Second.
Home Concierge. Aye.
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 I said aye.
Oh, okay. There are only four of us, sorry. Okay, so this was approved. The window signs, now we need to discuss those a little more.
Yeah. The sense you're getting is it's a little much.
I understand.
Every window maybe is too much. And I think if I'm hearing the preference, the board might be either to just have the information in the middle panel as you have it here, or maybe that plus one logo above it in that middle window,
center.
something like that.
I think that would look appropriate if you're open to that idea.
I'm not open to the logos on the
Okay.
windows. Why are we doing that?
We've done it on some others.
I find it is hard to see an overhead sign 15 feet directly above you if you don't have anything on the windows, though. As you're
Well, you
walking,
have something on the windows because you have the
Oh, yes.
repeated. You could, I'm against those circular brand things, whatever they are. I don't think they add anything, in fact. I think they make it look busy. Anyone else?
What does Jeff think?
He's writing himself a note.
Yeah,
Jeff?
at first, I was okay with it, but the more I hear you speak about it, you're right. Not every sign needs a window.
Not every window needs.
Not every window needs a sign. We don't usually let all the windows have signs on them.
Yeah, no,
Correct?
Right, correct.
Okay, this is just, wait, so I would be willing to approve this, but
Okay.
not the circular things. Anyone else?
I mean, I
can we
think
amend it to have just one of the circles above it in the center window?
my feeling is when you're walking on the street, that you're not going to see that sign up above necessarily. I don't have an objection to having one version of the logo, but it's really...
Well, the logo is not informational.
No, but it's part of branding.
So if I had that on the center door, just one?
On the center panel, maybe above the
It's
information.
not a big store, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, just, yeah.
understand. Yeah.
Or reduce it in size if that helps too, you know?
Probably. I mean, if it was there and it was reduced in size and these were gone.
Are those even on the application? Do you have the application? Does it mention those?
I handed both of them to you.
Oh, I've got it, sorry. Above windows,
Yeah, this one says vinyl window graphics, and that was for the above window signage.
okay.
Final window graphic.
These are-
Yeah. Do we have any public commentary on this?
Anyone else have anything to add? No? All right, we can take a vote.
Well, what are we voting
So
on?
what are we voting on? Yes. I'm saying no to anything in a circle, but you three could prevail if you'd like.
Jeff, what's your sense of having one?
One circle in the middle.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good.
thing?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
You'd be,
So now we have to amend this by writing on it.
right.
Okay, so
Cross
move,
those out and
So I'm going to make another motion that we approve the storefront signage as follows, with the existing written portion in the middle section, and with one version of the logo above that in the middle window section.
and I'm crossing these out.
yes, thank you.
So that's the motion.
Okay.
Anyone second?
Second,
Aye?
aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Thank you.
So you're not going to sign this?
I'm going to go sign it, but usually I come back with it and stay and sign it. So I think we need to write on here a little more.
Okay.
Okay, the next application is for P&G Auto Parts at 153 Park. This is for building front signage.
Hi, it's me again, Anthony Droz.
Hey,
I brought a color swatch so you could actually see the colors if you'd like, because I know that when you print them, sometimes it doesn't come out a little hard. This is a digital print on a 3/4-inch thick AZAC material, pretty standard for what we usually do. Would you like me to pass this around or put it down? or-
no.
Actually, put it down if you wouldn't
Yep,
mind
yep.
next to
I
it.
marked them. It would be hard to see on the camera, but they're on there. So it's basically just a regular red, a regular blue, and a darker blue.
Any comments?
Oh, that's
I
fine.
have no objection to this. Jeff?
Good.
Anyone from the audience here? Anyone have anything to say? No.
I make the motion that we approve the signage for P&G Auto on 153 Powell.
Second,
Aye.
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 Here, I could sign that, actually. Do you have it?
Oh, did you sign it? Wait.
No. I can sign it. We can vote on it.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Next is the Southampton Rose Society for various locations at Village Gardens.
Is there anyone here to represent the Rose Society?
Oh, these are sponsored, okay.
Well, actually, do you want to talk about it anyway? Because I still think it's too big. Okay.
Just to, may I describe for the audience?
Here, I was going to put this
picture.
down here.
The Rose Society sponsors 4 locations in the village where they come and plant planters. You can see one of them next to Shippey's, one next to the Little Red Restaurant, one by the Town and Country office, and there's a fourth that's
That's
escaping
it.
me.
Wait.
They would like to put a sign up acknowledging the sponsors who have helped underwrite those gardens, which
Where, is there another, oh, here.
That piece is representative of the dimensions,
I see.
not the sign
So
itself.
these would be a total of 4 signs throughout the village on posts located in the planted landscaped area.
And this is, I honestly, they have a huge sign up, which the building inspector noticed, and so they had to go to the trustees to be allowed to have a sign, evidently, and now it's come to us. I personally believe that that's still way too big, and that it could be, it's 18 by
18 by
12, I don't actually think, and I think it,
14.
no, it's not.
18 by 14.
18 by 14, which still, when you put it on a, it's on a post, it's pretty big and in your face. The other one, and unnecessary. No, it's high, it's like waist high. So I would think that if it were reduced in size, there's no reason for the names to be that big. The small piece of paper, if you know, you can still read it, let's face it. So I think like,
These are the
yeah,
names.
8 by 12, something like that. They need to come back from my perspective. I don't think that's, I mean, it's one thing to beautify with roses or plantings. It's another thing to put a big sign out. And it just doesn't seem discreet or,
How big are the plantings?
well, it's a big wall, but when you get up to it,
Sure.
you know,
I
if
just
you
think
go
it'd
to
be
the
relative,
Botanic
that's all.
Society and it says the name of a tree, it doesn't say it on a giant placard.
Correct.
That was, and we're talking about something that's natural, you know.
Most of these locations are blank walls that are 20
Yes,
to
they
30
did a good
feet
job.
long, stucco, and they've put trellises with climbing roses on them. Simple spaces with a little bit of decoration. And I think what Susan's saying is that it kind of fights against some of the purpose of beautification to then put a large noticeable sign there.
I do think that's, yes.
Pictures of the
What?
locations
They're
now for the camera?
not-for-profit, correct? And they work on donations?
Yes, but if every,
Susan, don't get into a colloquy unless somebody is
if
acknowledged.
you,
You want to put the pictures of the
any public
locations?
comment, you would have to come up and state your name, Mr. DeVito.
Sit down.
Okay. I personally, so I think we should adjourn until the next meeting.
Okay.
Do you, are you, unless you, what are your feelings? Do you think it's the right size?
Since they're not here to discuss, we could adjourn to the next meeting. I personally don't have a lot of problem with it, but
Yeah, I would vote to adjourn without prejudice.
Okay. Zach, could I trouble you to give me all that stuff back?
I'm going to make a motion that we, because of the lack of representation currently, we make a motion to adjourn this application to a subsequent meeting.
second,
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Here, it's all has to be attached to this board. Let's go over here. Next, Union Burger Bar,
Yes. At
40 Bowden Square, storefront signs. Good evening.
Good evening.
Your name, please?
My name is Ian Duke,
Address?
40 Bowden Square.
Oh, Southampton Village. Okay.
I'm sorry that I didn't bring a copy of the
We can put it down.
proposal. I apologize.
Sorry, Zach.
We're requesting to put two 36-inch circular signs, one facing the road and the other facing our parking lot, for Union Burger Bar. The colors they match to the current signage that we have for Union Canteen in the front. We kept it the same colors, same company making the signs, we made it the same material, and no lighting.
When you say facing the parking lot, that's sort of
Our
facing
rear parking lot?
south.
Right,
Toward the
we're actually redoing that parking lot as well, so it'll quite a nice beautification of that whole back end, actually.
Any comments?
No, I'm fine with this.
I thought having two of them right near each other felt a little much. Feels a little overly commercial. One faces basically toward the street, right, toward North
Correct.
Main Street. And I thought that was in keeping with the village feel. The other one felt a little more highway and a little more commercial. I know it's a commercial property, and I appreciate the beautification you're doing.
Sure. Just to
But
respond,
they're not very big.
the general idea is that you really can only see one from either spot. It's not like that you can see two at the same time. So ultimately, that just to give you an idea as to where the idea came from.
So one faces North Sea Road and one's on the Bowden Square.
Correct.
No, it's
Because
not
you
on the
have-
No, not on the boat
Oh,
side,
on the
it
other
faces the
part.
rear.
Right, I know where it is.
One clarification, if you were driving north on North Main
To
Street,
the center.
you would see both of those for a pretty significant period of time. You would see that angle of the porch.
Certainly in no way to be argumentative, because I appreciate you even considering us putting up a sign. It really entirely depends on the time of year. When the trees are barren, absolutely, but the rest of the time, then I would disagree.
My question was this, and I need to probably drive by there again, but there's a road sign, right? Is there not?
On the
Yeah,
corner
right.
of Bowden
So
Square.
my question is, what's happening with that sign? My concern is seeing those two circular signs in isolation to what your total signage is going to be. I can't make a comprehensive view of it.
The actual
So-
cantina signs are the road sign, is that what you're talking
Right,
about?
what I'm saying is, I'd like to see a rendering with your final signage, because presumably you're changing the front, that road sign.
No, we're not.
It's not going to be...
They're two different
Correct.
ideas.
There are two different ideas that are going to function out
The tacos in
of...
the other, I think.
The
That's exactly
cantina
right.
and the burger bar are separate things.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be a
There used to
separate
be a different-
Yes, it is, and it already has the separate
Has
entrance,
the separate one.
which is with the opening of that, we're redoing that whole back parking lot, is so that we can actually run both out of the same operation.
So then because of that, now I didn't realize it was two restaurants, I'm more in the court with Rob, one sign at the front and maybe a minuscule sign in the rear.
Okay. All right. Could you give me a size that would work? Because right now they're 36 inches, they're not very big, so...
I have no idea. It's either one sign or you come back with something that represents it. And show me the whole property with all the signage.
Absolutely, and I'm happy to do so. It's that they're so far apart, it's almost, because these two buildings were put together, you can't see one sign that's up on the corner
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
see these signs.
Yeah.
It's over 100 feet.
Yeah.
Well, I understand your point. Let me ask you a question. Would you be willing to approve the single sign, and then I come back for a request for a second?
So which single one are we talking about? The one,
I'd request to put the one on the front, because it would give us the
the
ability...
front of the tavern, what I call the tavern?
Correct, the front, that's exactly right, and that's fine. I think everyone understands what that is, so...
Let me ask you this, because my concern's really specific, actually. It's just that the two of those are within 5 feet of each other. They're right there in the corner.
Sure.
And I hear what you're saying, the landscaping in the summer will change that look, obscure it a bit. Is the entrance for the tavern, for this burger bar, going to be through that door that's...
It's right through the front where the gap is in those two, it's the gap in that fence, correct. There's already a walk path, it's been there forever, we just fixed it up. A walk path that goes to that rear parking lot and that already goes all the way around to the front.
So where are we here? So, Rob,
Yeah.
are you willing to agree to I don't know what to call this thing. I call it the tavern because it was once
Sure.
called the tavern in my day. The Union's, the 36-inch round, which is like this big? Okay?
Yeah.
Well, it's one this is 36 inches. For the, is it, so, could you just point on the schema?
Can I approach?
Yes, watch out.
Sure.
Which one we're talking about here? No, do it on, so you can leave it down,
Sure.
point to it so that everyone can tell.
So your entrance, if you were coming from the road, would be right through here.
And where's the sign?
The sign is
That's
right
the
here.
sign you want?
Correct.
So that's
That'd be the
south,
one I would keep. That's the one that
facing west.
faces that
west.
faces the road.
North Main
Yeah.
Street,
The one that we're requesting on the side faces the parking lot.
on the south.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're talking about one on the road. Is this just like the one right across from Tate's, are we talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Does,
I'm not negative on the idea of multiple signs. I'm just concerned about them
Okay,
being
let
so
them come
close
back.
together and visually sort of blocking off
well,
that
let's start
corner.
with one then.
If you're happy to start off with one and come back maybe with other ideas about either a smaller version or another location or...
I'm more than happy to make that.
Okay, so only one sign, and that is to the
Is it
west.
is it public?
Just a minute, I'm trying to get this straightened out. Are you good with that?
Yep.
Are you good with that?
Yeah, but do we want public comment?
Yes, but I want to hear from you
Yeah,
first.
no, I'm good with it.
Okay, is there any public comment on these signs? This sign? No?
So I'll make a motion that we approve one sign facing west toward North Main Street for Union Burger Bar.
Second,
Aye.
aye.
I think that's
Aye.
North Sea
Aye.
Road, isn't it?
Sorry, North Sea Road, I apologize. It's North Sea Road, that's the
Zach,
motion.
could I trouble you one last time?
Is this yours?
Yes, that's mine,
All
because
right.
you didn't bring one.
And do come back.
All right,
I will.
When's it gonna be,
I'll take
burgers?
photos, and then you can see it, and we can go from there.
when's it opening?
Mid-January.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks, good luck.
That's it for signage.
Wait, so I have to put this on here. Only one sign. This one is out.
That's good. They're getting busy.
Yes. Moved.
This is Oxmoor Street, driveway here.
Okay, here we go. Next, we're moving on to
Decisions?
written decisions.
In each of the designated files, you have a decision which approves the application either as submitted or amended. The amendment basically was more for number 3, the Thaler application. So an affirmative vote on a motion would be to approve the application.
Has everyone read this decision? Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
I have a motion that we approve the written decision for Ox Pasture Building LLC for driveway gates at 410 Ox Pasture Road.
Second,
Aye.
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 I'm not sure if I was at that one. What date was that recently heard?
22nd.
Wait a second.
You were present.
I was, thank you. In which case, I vote affirmatively. Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Bob.
Was this attached to this? Do you want this paperclip?
Take.
Next, written decision, Kathy Rulin, 41 Gin Lane, 2 sets of driveway gates.
Is anyone here representing this application?
No, because they already did that, we're just voting on it.
I understand.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion that we approve the written decision for Kathy Ruland on 41 Gin Lane.
Okay. Does anyone want to second the motion?
Second,
I'll second the motion. Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Next,
Next is George Thaler at 281 North Main Street. And this is for construction of a two-story addition, partial demolition of existing dwelling, and a new garage. And this, Bo, has been amended.
The original application was amended by design.
Right.
Remember, the tower was removed?
Right. Was there also a change to the foundation under the new porch?
Yes.
That wasn't on the last plans that we saw, but they agreed to it. Was that initialed?
Please state your name.
CMX, I'm the architect representing 281 North Main Street. Yes, additional changes were incorporated where the new proposed north and east porch was converted from a brick to a wood frame to match the original porch on the east side. Also submitted landscape plan. We increased the amount of landscaping in the parking area, reduced the parking area, gravel parking area. I can walk you through it if you haven't.
Did that come in after our last meeting?
It was discussed at the meeting.
It was discussed, but you said there are new plans?
I submitted it basically following the last meeting. I submitted these revisions in addition to the original revisions, which was basically agreed upon that subject to those changes, the application would have.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. I see. Okay.
Motion to, so.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision. Sorry?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
To approve the written decision for 281 North Main Street.
How do you
George
vote?
Thaler. Aye. Oh, did someone second?
Second?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Good luck.
Next, David Hilty, 228 Pond Lane, construct first and second story additions.
So I make a motion that we approve the application for David Hilty for first and second story additions at 228 Pond Lane.
Second?
Aye.
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 And finally, Jeffrey Rosenblum, 18 Lewis Street, convert rear shed into an accessory pool house, construct outside cellar stairs to an existing dwelling. A motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by council for Jeffrey Rosenblum on Lewis Street.
Second? Aye.
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 That concludes the written decisions. Moving on. Driveway dates non-historic. Ocean Play LLC, 155 Wyandanch Lane.
This is adjourned until December 10th.
Oh, really?
I've got to say that my notes don't reflect a specific adjournment. It was adjourned, and presumption that I had when that was being discussed was it was going to be adjourned until tonight. It's okay that they've adjourned it. There's no reason why they can't request an adjournment to the 10th of December, but I didn't think that was specifically
How
discussed.
did you hear the 10th?
It says adjourned on my thing.
To the 10th? It doesn't say on mine.
12:10.
You're reading from the agenda.
Right, I have obviously an
Two
outdated.
copies of the agenda, neither of which say that.
Me too. How'd you get such a good one? Oh, it
It's
was
the
on
new
the
one.
table. This
Okay.
was put in, I get.
Okay.
Well, that's
Is there
what
a
mine
letter in
says,
the
but
file?
but I don't believe that it was specifically adjourned to the 10th. I believe it was just adjourned.
I got you.
Is there a letter in, we don't have the file?
We do, but
There's no letter?
Requesting
Just confirm,
Okay.
confirm an approval of adjournment to the 10th.
Next meeting.
Motion to approve the adjournment of Ocean Play LLC to December 10th.
Second.
Aye.
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 Oh, sorry.
Okay, next. Oh, here we go.
Next is Von Rabenturn Beach Holdings LLC at 1820 Meadow Lane. So we'll just,
Oh, good. State your name, please.
Good evening. I am John Whelan from Stella Lamont and Honey Architects in Bridgehampton. I have some, I don't know if you'd like me to lay down.
Yes,
the camera?
please.
Yeah.
Mostly the design would be preferable, and maybe...
Sure.
do you have any affidavits with you?
I do. I'll give this to you first. Right here, okay, yes. Hey, Zach. Okay, thank you. And if you need that, that's the neighbor that went with the mailing.
They'll take it.
Okay, great. And then I have... I have this right here as well.
Yeah.
Great.
Sure. These photos as reference are the existing gate. I just brought them just for your reference, okay, with the posting there. And this is the design drawing right here, this large sheet that I can walk you through if you'd like. And this is a copy of the survey right here.
Okay, let's walk through the design.
Sure. So the design here is basically 5-inch by 5-inch by half-inch black metal posts here, obviously going down into concrete footings, below grade. And then we have a black, that's basically the structure is black, black steel, where you're only seeing 1-inch faces of the black steel here, and then you're seeing mahogany slats, that the mahogany slats are 2.5 inches high, 1 inch thick, and they're spaced with a 2 3/8 inch space between each one. Pretty simple.
So we've got
Lovely strong.
2.5-inch slats and
2 3/8 inch spaces between them.
close. So we'd like to have 50%.
It says over 50%, okay.
But it can't be if that's the statistics, it can't be mathematically 50.1%. If the-
It isn't,
if the
because even I can figure that out.
Slats
I'm
are
terrible
wider
at
than the
math.
space.
2 3/4 and 2.5. Are you sure it's not the...
We have almost 50% spacing. We have 2.5 inch and 2 3/8 inch, so it's 1/8 inch less.
1/8 inch
Less than,
times... Okay, well, what are we going to do with this?
if you'd like to make it, with 2.5 inch spaces, with 2.5 inch slats, and we could make note of that and revise.
That'd be nice. Would that
That'd be
work?
I think it should be
50%.
at least
We could do that.
50%.
Jeff, you had a comment on a
I should probably speak up.
application once about
No,
the
there's a
depth.
microphone.
Oh, okay.
The depth of the slats. In that case, they were vertical, but the fact that the depth, until you were facing straight into it, it's different up and down, but we have a similar issue here, which is that these are going to be in total 4.5 inches wide. The fence is 4.5 inches wide, correct? I think an inch, and then 2.5 in the center.
But yes, but these boards are only 1 inch deep. They are on both sides, so, on both sides of the fence, but they're only 1 inch deep, by 2.5 inches high.
I mean, I think when it's horizontal like this, it matters a little less, but you have some of the same issue on the
But
depth.
you can't see through because of the boards.
It gets a little harder to see
You have to
up and
stand
down.
right in front of them to see through.
But
It's Meadow Lane. It's way out.
I think from a car, this would actually be right in front of your view plane because it's a
Well,
foot
how
or
about
so
when you're
higher.
driving past?
I think when you're driving past in a car, I'm saying you'd be right directly looking
Through certain
through at it.
slats.
Yes, yes, because in a car, you're sitting down and you're just,
We just don't want it to look like a walled community, which is what it's becoming no matter what we want.
sure. I know East Hampton is the same way, if they want that sort of spacing too, so. I
Yeah,
understand
we're
that.
going to have to,
I mean, I think the difference in the spacing here is relatively de
Me
minimis.
too.
If there's a magic reason why you have to have it 2 3/8 versus 2.5 inch spacing, let us know.
I can tell you what that was. It's simply the layout, keeping this clean rhythm between the ground and the top of the gate at 6 feet. So we wanted to keep them the same spacing and not differentiate them and keep a nice even
Okay.
layout.
I could agree to that, could you?
Because otherwise you'd have to make
Yeah,
that
no,
taller.
it'll
Yeah, yeah.
get bigger or littler.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think it's going to be a handsome addition. It's certainly going to be, in my opinion, more compatible than the gates that are
absolutely.
there.
Yeah, kind of like cattle gates. Or
Cattle,
something. Yeah, yeah.
that is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think the black and the mahogany are a nice mixture too of materials there, the black steel.
Is the mahogany going to be finished at all, or is it going to
Pretty much a
weather?
natural, just weathered natural.
Weathered to
mahogany.
gray?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I believe so. Yes, actually.
Natural finish.
Yes, natural finish, yes, yes.
Okay, so make a motion.
Well, we have public-
Oh, any public comment?
I'll make a motion that we approve the application for driveway gates at 1820 Meadow Lane.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Next, Arthur and Margarita Capona, 210 Downs Path, driveway gates. Is there anyone here to, oh, yes, there is. 210 Downs Path, do you have to have homeowner's approval?
Sign that one.
No, that's, I guess, just across the street. For the present.
I have to go back and do the whole thing.
You sign it when you get back. I forgot you sign them tomorrow.
Yeah, it just takes too much of everyone's time, doesn't it? I'll sign it, but I still have to sign the plans. It just makes it crazy. So posting and mailing?
Yes.
Great.
Phil paid for the applicant.
Show those to Bo.
What are those?
Just have affidavits that aren't fully, they're signed and notarized, but they're not fully completed. Can you complete them? Yeah.
Can you complete the affidavits, Phil? Did you do the posting?
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, we need the top
Let
of
him
these.
finish his
Without these being
presentation.
filled out completely, we can't listen to you, so. Just need the tops of those affidavits completed.
Why don't you do that after the application?
Right.
okay.
Tell us what, we'll just,
Hang on to them and
just,
fill it out.
it's not going to take him too long to fill.
No, I don't think so. You have a survey, a marked survey in your file, and I've just submitted some
put this one
additional
down?
drawings of the gates with some additional dimensions. And I'll put this here. The gates are set back about 24, 25 feet from the street. And they're very similar to a pedestrian gate that's on the street right now. So 2-inch slats at the top with 4-inch spacing in between, 4-inch top rail and bottom rail, 6-inch stiles on the side, 12-inch columns.
Does yours say 4-inch spacing or just says 2-inch slats?
That's the 2-inch slats.
2-inch with approximately 4-inch spacing in between.
So maybe when you're doing this, you could write in 4-inches in between,
Okay,
amending it.
Do
Go
that.
on, I'm sorry.
yeah.
It's like to be specific. Is that the stamp? Are any of these stamped? No. On this one. Let me see.
So that one can be amended, completed. What is the material?
Wood, painted white.
Any comments from the board?
Probably not 50% transparency.
I agree, but because,
But it does have transparency and at eye level.
right, okay. I don't have a problem with it. Is there any comment from the public regarding these gates at 210 Downspath?
If you could note on the plans, just that 4-inch spacing between the top slats, and also that it will be painted white.
Yes.
And fill out the top.
And then just bring it right back to us.
Should we take a vote now?
Yeah,
Subject
we
to?
can
Okay.
just bring it right back so we
Yeah.
can get this paper.
As long as we get those materials noted back from you, I'm making a motion that we approve the application for driveway gates at 210 Downspath.
Second.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Bill, you want to annotate this one too?
Moving on. Public hearings, non-historic.
The first one is Asimakis and Merid Inglis at 5 Potato Field Court.
Good evening.
James Salakis, Principal J5 Group Architects.
You have to, it should face us. Thank you.
Ready when you are.
Please proceed.
Okay. So based on our last visit here, we have taken your comments with regard to the mass of the structure, and we've gone back to the drawing board, and we've scaled it down to the point where the central part of the entrance of the house is basically the living space of the house, the family room, the kitchen, and the foyer areas are pretty much the central part of the house. The rest of the bedrooms, upstairs, bathrooms, etc., have all been scaled down with a lower ridge height and dormered, front and back. And we think that this is what the board was looking for in terms of the massing of this house. And we've just tried to bring it down to a more reasonable scale for the neighborhood.
Do we have a site plan? Well, I know there is a site
They
plan.
didn't change it.
Is it on the same
The same
footing?
footprint, right?
It is, yes. I can show you.
We looked at it. I looked at it.
The floor plans were included in this submission, and I can show you this particular, the only footprints we're adding are at the front where the stairway is with a light well for window down below, and then we're squaring off the front to, basically the steps are here, the door sets back, and then we're adding 3 feet in the front and another light well.
Right. So, but from left to right, north, whatever it
It's
is,
80
east
feet
to
across,
west,
is that right?
it's the same footprint as the existing structure.
Correct.
Not the existing structure, I don't believe.
No, as
but the
the
prior
previous plan, the
application.
original.
Oh, yes, yes. The floor plans have not changed from the beginning of this process, which is 4 meetings ago. So, nope, the footprints have not changed at all. It's really been an exercise in massing of the house.
Any comments?
Well, I very much appreciate the fact that the redesign has significantly improved the qualitative aspect of the massing, and it's definitely gives the appearance of being less massive. At the same time, I'm still troubled by the fact that within this neighborhood, permissible though it may be under the code, it's still going to be divergent significantly, I believe, from the more modest houses around it. So I'd like to hear the other board members. I'm waffling.
I hear what you're saying, but I think they have made concessions. It's still a big, long house in a place where there are not big, long houses. However, I feel that at least looks like a
Definitely approve.
it looks like a house that you could look at across from. I have great objection to this enormous span of metal roofing.
So
back.
we spoke with our roofing contractor, and he is warranting the asphalt roof at that pitch, so we can change.
Oh, good.
We can change that.
Well, that
to-
makes me much happier.
Yeah, we can
Yeah, I
we
assume-
can note that.
Because
That was done for pitch reasons primarily.
That was, and so he has verified that he is warranting the roof at that pitch, so
So you could amend this plan and say it would be asphalt?
we can, absolutely.
How about, does anyone else have any? Rob?
I mean, I would echo what other people have said. I really appreciate the responsiveness. I know this has been a process, and you've come back a few times. I think this massing and the scale of this proposal is very responsive to what we said before, and I appreciate that. In particular, the height has come down quite a bit, 7 or 8 feet, I believe. And I think that's I still hear what Jeff is saying, this is a different scale house than some others in the neighborhood, but it's markedly different from what was first proposed, and I think it gets to the point of appropriateness for the neighborhood. I did have a couple quick detailed questions. The roof line to the right, or I suppose the north of the main gable when you face the front house, is 4 inches higher than the roof line to the west.
Right, and
Or
that's...
to the south. Can you tell me why?
Sure. So if we look at the second floor plan, basically you can see that the original building sets back, and we can see that from the garage. And so what's happening is, on the second floor now, we're basically taking the second floor and we're bringing it across.
So you've got the same roof line coming up the back that needs to come further out. on
Right,
the
so we were able to set that back, and on this side, it's sitting on top of the existing building, so that's why it's 4 inches higher.
You think 4 inches really makes a big difference?
I just was wondering
Okay.
why it is.
He has a good, okay.
And the only,
Good question.
I guess, other quick question is the paneling between the 2 windows to the left of the door. I assume that's a wood or AZEK panel between
It's like
that
lights.
pair of windows?
That was just going to be a painted trim, but if the board wants it to be siding, because of the spacing, we could certainly add siding to it.
It's an unusual spacing for that much paneling on a house that doesn't have other paneling,
Sure.
in my opinion. It looks a little strange.
Sure.
I would recommend either siding it or having narrower windows and having 3 of them set in there, which to me would also be an acceptable look.
Okay, fair enough.
But I don't know if other people share
Well,
that.
I would just say that from the second floor down, both bedrooms there, so we're trying to keep those windows for egress. That's the only egress window. So what I would say is we would just frame each of those windows separately and just put siding in the middle.
I think it would side
I
it.
think that would be
Yeah,
nicer.
I think that would be
Okay.
nice.
Let me ask you a question. On the, does anyone find objectionable or concerned about the railings that are jutting out to provide for a window well on either side? And I presume that's because you're digging deep in the basement and putting a whole bunch of stuff down there.
Well, it's really light and egress, right? So we just need a 18-inch railing there, which we've done in other residences with this railing detail as per code. So it's not a full 36-inch high, it's only 18 inches high because the well is not fully deep, so.
Gotcha. Does it concern anybody in terms of it jutting out? And if not, I'm not going to stand in the way of the application.
Matt, you're saying that's only 18 inches high?
Yeah, because it's
This.
just sitting on top of the curb of the well.
That's the window.
It's a staircase, right? So
Right.
that's that mid-stage.
So, but do you think that looks weird? Yeah.
How about,
I mean,
Okay, I have-
it's not a biggie, but
The window to the right of the door that goes down below, where you have the window well, so we can only see half that window at ground level, is that correct?
Because that's going to the basement, that's why, yeah. That's going to the basement, so that's
Halfway down the staircase.
going to a
that's staircase
platform,
landing.
right. So it's bringing light to the basement.
You know, I hear that, I'm more interested in the outside.
Well, I mean,
Looks.
as you walk up to the front door, I mean, you're in full sight there.
It looks peculiar to me, but
Well, I mean, as stairwells read, I mean, that's, the windows aren't lining up with the second floor windows. I mean, there's an architectural element there that is a stair tower, not, especially for the width of that dormer.
I mean, I think it would look nicer without it, but on the other hand, we're living in an age where people
Live in the basement.
live in the basement and put in media rooms.
Right, no, that was
you
a
know.
client, that was a client request that they wanted as much light as possible to get
Well,
down
no,
to that.
the client wanted as much space in the basement to do as much stuff as they wanted to do. Not our issue,
Right,
but the design is.
right, okay,
So,
understood.
I'm not going to sit here and tell them they can't have a media room in the basement, but
They don't need light for it, but that's...
you can't tell me that that improves the design. It's an architectural necessity because of people's, personal preference.
Understood.
That's perfectly fine.
I don't think it's not ideal to me, but it's not a
Okay.
deal killer.
Yeah.
The deal killer to me is that metal span back there.
Well, that's been taken off the table.
Okay. Just any more comments?
No, thank you for making the
Yes,
changes.
you really did. The making it lower really helped,
Okay.
and I
Appreciate it.
appreciate it. I know it's been a couple of times around for us. Is there any commentary from the public? No one?
Do you need a landscaping?
We're the only folks coming out on a night like this. Are you kidding me?
People here in business.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the application of Asimakis and Merid Inglis at 5 Potato Field Court, subject to changing the material of the shed roof in the back from metal to asphalt to match the rest of the roof.
And changing the
Making that
siding.
change.
And changing the siding between the
shingling.
2 front windows from paneling to shingling.
Sure.
Right, so you're going to have to write on here.
Second,
Aye.
aye.
Aye,
Aye.
and bring it back. You can go in the hallway and do that?
Sure.
Do you
Okay.
need another copy of the plans? We have an extra one.
Yeah, maybe he has to amend the second copy.
No, I have copies, but I'll take it.
Stamped. Are there
Oh,
two
okay.
stamped copies? That's what I need.
Okay, well then I'll
Oh,
take
no,
it.
you're not a
We
stamper.
can get another copy stamped.
Is there any?
We can get one stamped.
Oh, wait,
Here.
these are interiors.
Could we ask you to stamp that? And if you could just note those 2 changes on each side, the plan and initials.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
The next application is 131
It's
Herrick
adjourned.
Road, but they have a request for adjournment. Is anyone here to represent this matter? I make a motion that we accept the applicant's...
No, approve.
Approve.
The applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting.
Second,
Aye.
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 Next, Jeffrey Seaman, 222 Murray Place, construct dormer addition. Is this these little blue? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Where you been? Haven't we missed you a few times?
Yeah, once.
Okay. Oh, only once?
My fault.
Okay. Posting and mailing, we've got? Do you want to look at this? I've looked at it.
Supposed to...
I've already, I already looked at this a million times.
Doug Bocchino for the applicant Jeffrey Seaman, 222 Murray Place. This is what the house looks like currently. This is a rendering with the 3 dormers that we're requesting. Those are the dimensions of the dormers. Really, they just want to do it. This is a double height volume behind this massive roof, and it doesn't get any light in it. There's also these antique barn doors, which they also discussed replacing, but they're beautiful and they're really old, so this was the alternative to light the space.
I think it looks better.
Agreed.
Anyone else?
No, I like it.
Yeah. Anyone from the public have anything to say about the dormers at 222 Murray Lane? Is that right?
Place.
Place.
I make a motion that we approve the application of Jeffrey Seaman at 222 Murray Place for second-story dormers.
Second,
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Great. Very cute, that little house.
Yeah.
What came in today? This?
So the next application is Mercedes Coonahan, 21 Hillcrest Avenue.
Are these new plans that came in today?
I don't think anybody's here.
Is there anyone here to represent this? Please step forward. Are we going to hear this? I'm not that, today, I've been in there already today.
Let's see. 200.
Is it different?
Well, now they're tearing it down. Demolishing the 800 square foot house.
Yeah, in the,
State your name, please.
Manuel Rumalotis.
And did you put these plans in here today, in the building department today?
I did not personally.
Well, did someone? Yes, please step forward. I had, putting the plan, are these new plans?
They're just updated for the asphalt and the shingle
Oh, okay,
that you asked for.
okay. So this is only for the materials, is that correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, good.
The metal roads.
and you were going to bring in samples.
Well, we
Yes.
have a sample.
Ah, thank you.
Wow. Qu'est-ce que c'est? All right, go ahead.
So nothing has changed, just the roofing material. And instead of a clapboard siding, we've gone with a white cedar siding and just asphalt shingle roofing.
Wait a minute, so this,
That's correct.
That's the rendering of the white cedar
oh, so
siding.
you're really just shingling the house now?
Yeah, instead
good.
of
Painted
clapboard.
white.
Painted white, that's okay. Except you'll have to keep painting it white.
And no other changes to the design.
So is this notated in these plans?
Yes,
The actual
yes, on the
materials?
elevation.
We're just seeing some of this for the first time.
Yeah,
so-
it puts us at a real disadvantage to have this in at the very last minute. Puts me at a disadvantage, at least. And it holds up our meeting.
Sorry about that.
So, where does it say it's white?
If you go on the
I'm on
over,
one more page?
yes, one more page, right
Okay,
there.
thank you. Okay, well, then it definitely says, okay. Have any comment from the board?
No objections from me. Thank you.
Appreciate the responsiveness to the
Yes.
concerns that were expressed.
Thank you for
Thank
changing.
you.
Any comments from the public? Anyone here?
I make a motion that we approve the application for Mercedes Coonahan at 21 Hillcrest Avenue.
Second,
Aye.
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 Motion approved. Good luck with the house.
Yeah.
Next,
John and Stephanie Ingram at 313 Little Lanes. Give me a moment.
total no-brainer in my head. Oh, my goodness. Post-time mailing?
Good evening, Board. Matt Ivins, Suffolk Environmental for the owners.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your first name.
Matt,
Hey, Matt.
how you doing?
Good.
I'm going to just pass out these. I think this will simplify it.
affidavits of mailing interest.
This is like they're taking the garage and making it a pool house. It's the exact same. They're not doing making anything bigger or different. So,
Okay. I'm just going to run through why we're here real quick, and then
Great.
Bruce Siska, the architect, is here as well.
You guys see that?
he'll show us. Perfect. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, so let me get the survey too.
So you're just taking the same dimensions, is that right?
What's that? I'm sorry?
It's exactly the same.
It's exactly the same. I'll give you a quick rundown. The structures existed here. I can get it back to 1962. Prior to that, through aerials. It was used as a garage then. Driveway was looped through the center portion of the yard. Now it's being used for the pool equipment, storage for the pool furniture. The owner, his first idea was to just renovate it and bring it back to a garage use. I guess the contractor went in there, looked around, said, we can't save this, we got to take it down. So I met with Tim at the building department in May. He said there would be no variance needed, thank God, as long as we keep it, in place and kind. Height, everything, square footage, which we're doing. So we're before you guys right now for that, and then we're going to move on to the building permit. It's going to maintain 367 square feet. That's really about it. I mean, I have photos if you want to see. You guys went out to the property and saw the structure, its condition? Okay, so it's pretty beat up. I have photos I can submit.
We're more interested in what the new thing looks like since the old one's going to be gone.
Okay.
Are there two stamped sets of plans in here? Okay. Oh, great. Okay, just checking it.
It's just, you can point to the site plan, but this is set back about 150 feet or so
From the street, yeah, that's correct. And again, the major difference, we're going to propose a garage door on the north side.
Facing the driveway.
Yep.
Oh, I don't think we really, has everyone looked at these plans?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have much of an Does anyone have any objections?
Just have them maybe show for the record.
Yeah, just show for the record.
elevations for the proposal so that the public can see.
But
okay.
this is pretty simple.
All right, so if you guys can see it on the video screen there, everything highlighted in yellow is existing, everything highlighted in blue is proposed. So pretty much, I guess 3 out of the 4 facades are almost identical. The north elevation is the big change, the garage doors. That's it.
And the street is to the east, so it would be to the left of the garage door.
It's
facing to the left.
pretty far back. Is there anyone from the public who has anything to say about this application at 313 Little Plains Road?
I make a motion that we approve the application for John and Stephanie Ingram at 313 Little Plains Road.
Second. Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you, board.
Thank you.
Now, next,
Next application is for Carrie and Oded Nakmani at 1471 Meadow Lane.
Good evening, members of the board. Brian Sessa, 2462 Main Street, Suite 7. I have with me tonight Val Florio, the architects for the project. I handed in affidavits of posting and mailing.
And that stamp feedback to you.
Desessa, D-E-S-E-S-A.
sorry, go ahead.
Thank you.
Sorry, sir.
No, I just wanted to wait and make sure everyone's ready. The property, again, is at 1471 Meadow Lane. There exists a single-family residence there. The pictures of the brown dwelling are what's existing as of today, and the gray building is what is proposed. The current building is approximately 2,300 square feet, does not comply with FEMA or setbacks to wetlands. The applicant here is proposing to demolish the existing house and reconstruct a single-family 4-bedroom house that is 26 feet further landward from the wetlands, reduces lot coverage by almost 2%, includes a new IA sanitary system on the site, as well as increased in the natural buffer and planting areas. There are no gates proposed, so that's kind of, I think.
Is this, are you in front of any
We're
other
in front of the
boards?
zoning board now with respect to wetland setbacks, because it's in the area that was identified as the Meadow Lane overlay district. So we're increasing our setbacks. Currently, we're less than 24 feet from the wetland. The proposal is to move back landward in excess of 50 feet from the identified wetlands to the north and the east as well.
So so where are you asking for relief? I don't understand.
Just from the setbacks to wetlands, because you need to be at more than 100 feet.
Oh, okay.
And Meadow Lane overlay recommended 50, so that's
Okay.
no dimensional relief in terms of pyramid or side yards or anything like that.
Okay.
The proposal before you was 100% compliant.
Go ahead, whoever's
Sure,
talking.
go ahead, Beth.
Sir, present your house.
May I borrow one of your copies? I think you have about 9 or 10, but for just rendering purposes, because they...
We have the big one. I don't think we have another small one.
Oh, do you,
No, that's okay.
that's okay, we're cool.
Okay, so as you can see, the existing house, this property owner had renovated this home back in 2000 when he had purchased the property. The goal here is really to add a bedroom to the home and also a little bit more first floor space. But as you can see, the new design is characteristic of the existing. There's improvements, of course, but we've got a house that's LEED compliant in terms of the energy rating. We've got a home that's FEMA compliant, and I think that in terms of, all the construction methods that we use today, this is something that's really important in terms of protection from hurricane. And I think that the look and feel, what I've done with the material, we're using an Ipe wood siding for the second floor with a limestone panel.
Do you have any of that with you?
You have it all copies there. This is page 7.
The material.
The material. So the Ipe is not dissimilar from the cedar. It's something that's going to weather over time. We'll leave it natural. It's a high-density South American hardwood. So it's preferred over any type of mahogany, cedar. We grow trees very quickly in this country to the point where a piece of wood that might be dimensional 6 inches wide could be less than 10 years old. So with Ipe wood, it's a hardwood. It's meant to last 30 years or greater.
You said it was gray. Is it gray naturally?
It will, no.
or is
When
it
it comes from the lumber yard, it will be a sort of a pumpkin color, not dissimilar from cedar, but if you let it weather, it turns into a beautiful driftwood.
like teak does?
Yes. So the theory here, it's by the beach. It's a beachy little cottage, and that's what we're looking to do. And I think that the introduction of the white is something that helps break up, the layering on the house in terms of, it looks like it's floating.
And what was the wood type again?
Wood type is Ipe, I-P-E. And so it's something, you can use teak, you can use mahogany, but as I said, even the mahogany that they grow in this country, or mostly is harvested in South America, but it's grown so quickly that it doesn't have the durability of something like Ipe. But again, as you can see stylistically, the look of the proposed is not too dissimilar than the existing. It has little impact, if anything, in terms of the neighbors. The house is actually being set back further in an effort to be FEMA compliant, but also the setbacks. As Mr. DeSessa said, we have to push this building back further to the street. This yellow section here represents the proposed footprint in relation to the existing. So you can see this blue section here, the existing home, we're actually going to be much further back, closer to the road, and I think...
It's still going to be 59 feet from the road, so it's not going to be as if it's on top of the road, but it's farther away from the wetlands. The septic system, too, was designed, which is important to the site plan, not to cut Val off, to not need retaining walls. So those big walls will not be installed here. The IA system, the way that it was designed, will fit into the ground level without the need for retaining walls.
That's, I think, something within the past year. There's more manufacturers of this product, and we're using something called Fuji Clean. So the tank itself contains all of the runoff from the house, but the difference with this type of system, it's called a geotile. So it doesn't need any type of retaining. Everything just flows through the system. It's all filtered without the need of putting a 4-foot wall in front of the home. So there's little, if any, impact. You won't notice that the system's been changed out to something more environmentally friendly.
So a couple quick questions. You mentioned that the Ipe is going to weather to a gray or silver, so I assume it's not going to be oiled or finished the way the previous cedar siding was. Is that correct?
It could be. I mean, you can put a cuprinol or a clear coat to preserve, lock in the color if you want to. But I think that...
We don't have an opinion. I'm wondering what your clients plan to do, because it sounds great to be driftwood.
He would like it to turn this soft, natural gray. And I would, too. I think a driftwood-looking house is more appropriate for sort of a beachfront community. And I think it tends to disappear. By way of example, if you look at the Parish Art Museum, when that first went up, it's a big gray building, but it has a tendency, when you drive by, it sort of morphs into the horizon. And I think that's the look. It's less impactful, and I think that we'd like it to be beachy. That's the theme of the house.
My only other question had to do with the stone on the first floor. It's stone panels, correct? Or
the limestone, which would, yeah.
Are those... are there shadow lines that are showing up in the elevations? Is that what I'm seeing? They're pretty dark.
You will, and which is why I don't like the black and white drawings, because it doesn't flatter this type of a house or any house for the most part. I find that a rendering will tell a better story for your project rather than black.
I want to make sure that the grout or whatever is joining that there is not going to be black, and it's not going to look like
unified.
No. It's a common thing now, especially with a product that's environmentally friendly. These are not good examples, but it's something that they even do with a cement board application. And it's a much less expensive way to pull off that look. But since this is such a small house, it's much nicer to go natural with a limestone panel, and that's what we'd like to do. So,
I mean, I have a strong preference for letting that wood weather. So, and I'm just seeing here the note is for natural Ipe, but I'd love to have that just memorialized.
Well, that's what it says. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we can add a note, but it's to leave it natural to turn gray. It takes a few
I
seasons.
think it's pretty straightforward. It says natural.
yeah, I think the renderings would also, I don't know if that would drive home the point that this is intended to be natural, but we have no, for the record, we're not painting this or staining this any color.
It's fine.
It's natural.
I don't think that's a problem.
I like it. I think it's a
I
nice
really like this.
replacement for that.
We like it.
Thank you.
Do you like it?
Oh, thank you for
Jeff.
asking. Yes, I do.
Is there anyone who has any comments? Anyone want to comment from the audience there? No?
I make a motion that we approve the application for Carrie Anoda Nakmani at 1471 Meadow Lane. Aye.
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 Motion approved.
Thank
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
You too.
Next application is for Madison Avenue Capital Partners, constructing a two-story single-family dwelling at 1323 Meadow Lane with attached garage.
Good evening. Mayron McDonough Conway Architects. I have new renderings and elevations for last-minute change, and I will explain that to the board.
Yeah, Zach.
And
Here's the plans.
these are new.
Those are small sets. Wait.
And these October 25th are the correct ones?
Yes, the elevations have changed, and I'll explain that to the board.
They have changed.
They have changed the...
Do you have any sets that have this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
let's put this,
Yeah.
wait. Sorry, this is just a mess.
You can keep the old renderings just as...
Well, we don't want to look at what's not
Right,
current, sir.
okay.
And you're just bringing these tonight?
Correct. It was a last-minute change by the client. The only difference is this horizontal element here that I'm pointing to.
Wait, so this is out of date too?
This is out of date?
Correct.
Do you want to keep them in the file? Or should we?
I don't know what to do. Here, is this the new one? No, this is the old one too. How many, here, take this away. I think,
Would you like the old ones?
Why not?
have we even seen this? No.
Yes, that's the new.
Yes, this is the new one.
Wait. So now we've each got a set of the new.
This looks like a new one.
Yeah,
That is okay.
that's a new.
Yes.
Do you need this? Did I just take your plan?
No. Oh, wait,
Rendering. He can,
No,
we can
that's
share.
it.
We can share.
Wait, we have one. Hello.
Okay.
Very good. All right, so properties at 1323 Meadow Lane. Property is 4.4 acres. The footprint of this house is approximately 1,800 square feet. Like the previous case, we needed to get some relief from the ZBA, which is already granted and approved. The house meets the height, FAR, and the lot coverage, and it also complies with the FEMA regulations. The only thing we needed to get relief for was the pyramid for the pyramid encroachment on the east side and the north side, which is the Meadow Lane side, and those are granted already. What you're looking at, like the previous rendering, this was done very last minute, so we didn't have a chance to bring it into the village. Basically, you're looking at the main materials are stucco and stone. I have samples for the board members if they wish to see that. And we did something similar to this about 3-4 years ago, and this is sort of like a smaller version of that. The one we did was on the ocean side. This is obviously on the bay side. And so we tried to keep it sort of in keeping with the rest of the houses that were introduced to the area. Open to any questions?
What was the address of the
previous one?
analog house, or the model? You said there was one
The
that
one
was...
previous to this? 1,400. That's on the ocean side, sir.
Right, 1,400.
How tall is this house? I'm having trouble.
It meets the height requirement. It is,
29.
Does it have a FEMA build-up?
it's the 28 feet height requirement from the BFE.
And what was the issue with the pyramid?
The pyramid, there was
How
a,
much did it encroach on the envelope, or pierce the envelope?
I don't remember the precise numbers, but it was, if you look at the front elevation, the pyramid was from the side yard,
Yeah.
and there was a pyramid also from the from the south side that was cutting into the front elevation.
Jeff, I don't recall, but I happened to be at that ZBA meeting.
Yeah.
The primary generator of the need for relief was trying to move the house away from the water more,
Gotcha.
to get it closer to the road, and it is closer to the road, but it was to try, that was done in order to move it further away from the wetland.
Correct.
So that's where like 80 or 90% of the volume of relief that was requested was the front pyramid for that reason.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Right.
And a little bit on the right side as you face it.
And being 50 feet away from the wetlands, which reduced us to a very, very small footprint.
The plans say that the color of the stone and the color of the stucco are going to be selected by the owner. I think you said you had samples. Has the owner selected?
If they don't make any changes, yes.
No, it doesn't work that way. We have to look at it and approve it.
This is the color of the stucco. Forget about the sample, we got beat up in my car. And this is the stone that would be mainly the main body of the house and these two areas, I mean, these four areas.
Point to that again, the parts that are, I see the verticals, is that right?
These two
That,
vertical
that.
elements and the main body of the house, which is what the house is sitting on, so to speak.
It would be
that stone. That would be the Turkish marble.
And the sort of linear, vertical and horizontal linear elements will be stucco.
Will be, yes, correct. Correct, sir.
There's also a glass handrail with metal frame on some balconies.
Yeah, those would be glass rails.
And what is the color of the rail, of the frame?
Window frames and the rails would be white. At one point, black was mentioned, but the massing of the house is too small to introduce such a contrast.
My only concern is with the coloration. This is a fairly tall building. It will be close to the road and fairly tall. I don't have a problem with that. But then the coloration, I appreciate the addition of the horizontal line to break up some of the mass.
Right.
That's going to look somewhat monolithic in those colors. There is some tonality to it, which I think doesn't really show up in small
The print
samples.
doesn't do justice, I understand.
The print doesn't, and those have, the stone has a slightly bluish gray tinge, and the other one has a more, I don't know, greenish gray or yellowish hue to it, the stucco. So that will actually look fairly different to this, and I would like to see, I would feel more comfortable with a little more contrast to it. The last house we saw had the contrasting materials, which I think helps break up the mass more. And this is a tall building that could look in certain lights like it's all carved out of one piece of stone, which would be beautiful in some ways, but I'm not sure that'd be in keeping.
Right, you got to realize this is almost gray and almost white, so I think, and when you say tall, it is, we do meet the height requirement, though.
No, I understand that, but you're close to the road, and I don't know, we don't have a landscaping plan, I don't believe. I don't know.
We do have a landscaping plan, though.
Okay.
We do. Glasses
Do you have a landscaping plan in there?
No, it was in that, I think it's in the earlier. I think it's on this.
I don't have any other concerns. What do you guys think of
Is the landscaping plan in here?
I'm not sure if it was submitted, but this was developed.
Was it, where was it?
I thought I saw it when I looked in the earlier plan that we gave back to you.
You might have the 11 by 17 versions of it, right?
Can you walk through, is that a landscaping plan there? Just walk through it with the one you have on the table would be fun.
Just see if I can show you the color version. This is a better copy. The landscape plan actually introduces some landscaping in front of the building, except for the driveway, obviously, and a tree over here. So you're not really going to see that base, if you will, that you're looking at in the rendering.
And there's an existing house that's being demolished?
Correct, sir. Yeah. Which is back here. And this house, obviously, because the wetlands has to come a little closer to the road.
Back is pretty much glass.
Yeah.
So it's less intense.
You're looking to me for my thoughts?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, can we get them up?
So I feel the need to revisit personally the property and the
Me too.
the approach, because there's a fair amount of open space before you come to that house. And this is a very significant departure. I'm not saying that it's totally dissimilar from other houses that may be on the beach, but in terms of as you're going down in that direction, this is going to be boom. And my concern is, you mentioned the word industrial, and please,
Right.
this is just an analogy that comes to mind, but, you know, like the new Parish Museum, it's out there, and this is going to be out there. And it's an intriguing design. I'm just not comfortable, at least voting tonight, to approve it without going back to the property and considering it in a different perspective than I've been able to thus far.
Even with the proposed landscaping, sir?
Yeah, I just have to take it all in again, and that's me,
No,
and I
I have to-
apologize if it delays you further, but I'm not in a position to vote on it one way or the other this evening.
Okay.
I have to agree, I just haven't had time. Now there's different, too many new things. But I do think to me, it has a kind of a strident, almost industrial look, which I'm not friendly to, but we'll see. Board members?
I think it's a very handsome design for the beach, particularly. There's something very appealing about it.
It's very much in
It's
keeping with
also-
what's being built
it's
out
going
there
to
and what's
be-
being introduced
I'd
there.
like to see
And it's a lot smaller in scale than some of the other houses
Right,
that
we
you
did
see
see
over
that
there.
it's
The rendering,
3,600
again,
square feet, which is
I'm just not in a position to vote one way or the other, so I'm
I
not
understand.
disagreeing with you, I'm not agreeing.
No,
with
I
you.
understand.
Right, well, I'm not, what is this? I'm not in love with that, but that must be useful.
What's that?
Like this part.
if there's a place
It doesn't soften it, it sort of
modern
accentuates the
architecture, it's
giant,
on the beach.
bright thing coming out. I have to look at it again, too, I'm sorry, but it's, now that have been discussing the materials, I feel like I need to think about it, too.
I think we all understand the limitations of renderings, they will be imperfect. But could you or could someone try to recreate this rendering with some tonality from these materials? Because I think you're trying to achieve a certain balance, which we may never know until it's built, which is you want them to be compatible, but you want some kind of contrast.
Right.
And I'm just having trouble seeing that, and to me, it's important to the design to understand that balance. If you could try to create that rendering, I would
Very
appreciate
good.
it.
Okay.
So our next meeting is December 10th?
Okay.
Okay, we'll see you then.
Very
Are you
good.
asking us to adjourn to our next meeting?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, motion?
I need to,
Make a motion
To
that we
approve the-
adjourn the application of
Madison Avenue Capital Partners. Was there any public comment? I thought I already did that.
I'm sorry.
There isn't any. It's Madison Avenue Capital Partners is the name of the,
Madison Avenue Capital Partners on Meadow Lane. To our next meeting.
I second. Aye.
thank you.
thank you.
This one reminds me of Brasilia. Let's see. I spend a lot of time there.
Okay. Next application is 111 Pheasant Lane LLC, construct two-story addition, covered porch, and accessory structure.
This is the one I was wondering whether they...
Sometimes
Maybe not. Sorry.
Pheasant Lane isn't a, no. It's Cobblefield.
Cobblefield, yeah.
Any condo type group ownership. This is a freestanding house. Oh my God, look, a little model. Quite the model.
Oh, he always makes a lovely model.
That's pretty cute. You got mailing and posting? Great, thank you. And these are small steps of the big plans in the file? Thank you. Nothing's changed, correct?
Nothing has changed.
Great.
Wait, no, that's mine.
Stop it.
Nice model.
Well, thank you. So my name is John Laffey. I'm the architect for the clients. And this is a project I had originally designed 15 years ago. And the house has been bought by new clients who have more children than my previous clients. It's on 11 Pheasant Pond. All the work that we're doing is basically going to be unseen from the street. This is a small aerial I have. The flagstick down off Pheasant. It's 300 feet of driveway, and then it turns.
You just hold up so the videographer can get it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Put it down.
Thank you very much. That's what I mean.
So the addition comprised of two sections. One is the clients love the house, but then when we took this back in addition and made it 10 feet longer. So we kept the existing roof lines, which are here, in that one, and we just extended the roof lines over. In fact, everything you see, this actually is an older model I had done of the house. Everything you see in white are the new additions, and everything that's sort of in beige color is the existing. The idea was that when you drive up to the site through here, you just see a wee bit of the new roof over here, and as you drive in, you don't really get to see this new addition on left with sweeping curves. I tried to match the existing architecture of the house to make it that was always here. That was sort of my goal from the get-go. So again, all the lines of the roof match, all of the windows are going to match. It's all cedar siding, white trim. The addition is reasonably modest. It's about 26 feet. And it's meant to mimic the existing house that's here. We have a sort of a double peak here in the front. We have a double peak on the side over here. Then in the back, there's really no change to this facade, other than we just pulled that facade out in front, 10 feet. And the new lines come over. We kept all the new addition in line of the existing roof lines, so it would take on a secondary massing to the house. And the existing house, which is right over, the existing dormer, which is here, we mimicked on this side of it.
John, can you just, that roof line on the side that you were just on there, nope, that addition.
Yes.
That looks like it's the same on the gable, the truncated gable there, no, on the very end facing you right now. Yeah, to go up to the top of the roof line there. Yep. That top of the roof ridge line there looks higher in the model than it does on the elevation. Am I missing something? It looks like it, on the elevation, it looks like it steps down about 2 feet, maybe 2.5 feet, but it's
It's going to be 2.5 feet lower. I didn't mean, that was the wrong model. That was,
Okay.
No worries, I just wanted to...
I apologize.
No worries,
I didn't catch
it's
that.
fine. I'm not trying to get it's not a gotcha moment. I just want to know what we're approving.
Yeah.
So it's like the model, but that roof line is lower.
I kept the same pitches on it, and I don't, well, I apologize about the modeling.
No worries, I just wanted to be clear which one
Just
we're...
approved to try and get you guys to understand
Great,
the scope of the work.
Okay.
I think I tried to honor the architecture that was already there, and I felt really quite pleased to be able to be called back, so many years later, and get to work on a little home I had done earlier in my life.
What accessory structure are we just?
There's no accessory structure.
Oh, that was a mistake?
It was going to be, we pulled it off, and I thought I'd gotten to them on time to take it off, so there's no
Okay,
accessory
it's on here too, that's all right.
Yeah, there's no accessory structure.
So,
See what you're talking about now.
should we take that out?
Yes, please.
I think it's great.
I think it looks great, too. I have a couple just factual questions. Why am I seeing two chimneys here on that elevation?
So they knocked this one off on the way in here, and I don't know where the hell it is.
Okay, but so there will be, so the elevation is correct here. No worries,
That's all right.
again,
That was already there, right?
it's a big
Yes,
detail.
it's already there, yes.
Okay.
Just want to make sure we know what we're approving, if we do. And the windows in the breakfast room, are they just fixed French panels, sort of, fixed glass?
Yes, they'd be fixed panels.
Okay. Does it become a screen porch in the summer, or no?
No, it's a breakfast room, and it was there to match we tried to match the existing windows that are currently in this existing bay window here. It's on the house now. We just took that guy and put him here. And the porch has sort of a repetition of a colonnade on it.
Okay.
And we kept that on.
I don't have any.
Sorry, Zach.
Oh, no objections at all. It's a fine-looking house, fine-looking addition.
I don't have any objections either.
I have no objection, I think.
Okay, motion to approve. Is there anyone, do we ask?
Any public comments?
No one came.
Well, I'll make a
No one
motion
wanted
then
to come out
that
tonight.
we approve the application for 111 Pheasant Lane LLC to construct a two-story addition, covered porch, and no accessory structure.
Second.
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Approved. Next. Wait, look at all these. Here's the folder. The next application is 126 Pelletreau Street, LLC. Construct two-story single-family dwelling and detached garage. Is that posting and mailing, both?
Yes, ma'am.
We will need it shortly. Yeah, we're just out of order.
Do we have little plans?
So,
Other way.
Turn those around to face
this way? Lori Fontana, McDonough and Conroy Architects.
Great, thank you very much.
So we're proposing a two-story, single-family residence that meets, is actually below what is allowed.
Do you have small plans for the board?
They should be in there.
Oh, sorry.
You scared me.
Okay, it's a big, it's hard, we don't want to take out all the paper if we don't have to. It's a big mess. There we go. That's right. They were nicely packaged. Thank you.
So since this is a flag lot, we are proposing full screening of 5 to 6 feet green giant plantings around the perimeter of the property. The house will be white cedar siding with cedar roof, left natural, with windows with black trim.
And there's a tiny little metal roof on the east elevation.
Yes.
Let's put a side door.
It's for the side door into the mudroom from the detached garage.
Oh, they're different elevations. I just see that. Okay. I see the side.
Lori, the draft, the black and white shows that the deck has doors opening onto it, but the rendering doesn't show the doors. So is it a functioning deck or is it a mock deck?
Which deck? Oh, yes, I'm sorry, they missed the door in the rendering, I apologize.
So there will be
access from the master bedroom onto that deck.
with French doors?
Correct.
Or are those sliding
I think
doors?
they're, hold on one second. I'll get to that page. They're sliders.
Right, okay.
What about this chimney going up here? The chimney going past your...
Well, that may be an issue.
Deck is an issue. And it starts, I don't understand it.
Also, on that chimney, is that a straight chimney, or is that going to be is somebody going to have a fireplace in there?
In where?
In the chimney.
So this chimney is for the fireplace in the first floor great room.
Right.
That comes up past the second floor deck, and they were proposing a gas fireplace in the second floor deck.
Right.
So the chimney, I have to look at the plans.
The plans say stucco finish on the chimney. That's not changed to stone? Is that?
Oh, I apologize that it's supposed to be stone.
So the plan should say stone.
And the chimney goes past this deck?
Well, it has to clear it has to be 2 feet above the highest roof, so it would have to go.
Right, but I think it looks peculiar to have
floating in that open.
a chimney flying past that, I mean, of all the places to put it, frankly.
Well, this becomes, this is sort of a compound problem, because that's why I was asking that question. The chimney is more than a flue. They want to put in a fireplace.
A gas fireplace on the second floor.
A gas or otherwise, it's a
Right.
fireplace.
Correct.
On the second floor?
Which then means that second floor is in that porch or patio deck, enclosed deck, is fully intended to be used all seasons.
Well, it's not enclosed.
Well, I understand. What I'm saying is, well, all seasons are not, so maybe not in the dead of winter. But my concern, even though this is a flag lot, that's on the west side, correct? Yes.
Yes.
And this is tight.
And the west side overlooks the neighbor's pool. So my concern, now you could say, well, what if it was all windowed? Well, they could still look into the pool, but this is a party deck.
Well, it's off the master bedroom.
No, this one is not off the master bedroom.
Sorry,
The one that's off the master bedroom is 65 feet from that property line.
So
When I say a party deck, I mean, maybe that's too harsh terms, but it's going to be a functioning deck overlooking the neighbor's pool, and now the neighbor has privacy. When this house is built, they're going to have no privacy.
Well, What we're proposing is, first of all, this deck is 28 feet from the property line, just so you have an
It's 28 feet is from here to the end of the room.
Okay, so,
It's a
but
big deal.
we are
It's okay.
proposing full screening of the entire property with the green giant screening, which grow at an average of 3 to 5 feet per year. So minimum 3 years, it's going to be 17 feet. So you're never going to see into any of the neighbor's property,
Yeah,
nor is
they-
anybody going to see into yours.
I don't know which neighbor it is, but there is a letter in the file concerned about the decks. I don't know whether she's the neighbor to the east, west.
She is the neighbor to, so here's the survey, she is the neighbor here.
So that's the neighbor to the...
Would be the,
Yeah, it would be that side.
yeah,
It would be that side.
correct.
So there you have it. I mean,
Right.
you have a neighbor concerning, our concern is privacy, you have a neighbor concerning about privacy. I appreciate the screening, but you can't guarantee me that come foul weather, those, those may go down.
Well, we were actually required to do the screening by planning,
Yes, you are.
so, I mean.
However,
it
that
wasn't-
doesn't mean that we're required to approve a deck that invades the privacy of your neighbor. Those two things are different.
The thing that concerns me is that the access to that terrace is not off of one bedroom, it's off of a hallway.
So,
Right.
They're
So
still sitting
he's
out there.
saying- he's
Like a
this-
party place.
He's saying there's even greater concern that it will be used.
Oh, I see, it's,
The concerns on privacy are noise and just visual privacy. And we tend to
28
look
feet.
more we have tended to look more favorably when a balcony has limited access or has some other wall or other limitation that gives some privacy. When it's more or less open and open inside to the entire house, it's a concern about who uses it and how it's used, because it generates complaints and concerns that those type of decks can. So that's the
this is
concern.
Pelletreau Street, they're not large
yeah,
lots.
it's jammed
and
in
it's-
there.
Right.
And it's really hard
No, I think that's a real
preserve
problem.
people's privacy. It's a
I
problem.
think both of the decks are problems on Pelletreau Street, personally.
Well, I mean, the house directly in front of it, 120 Pelletreau, has a second-story deck.
What does it look like?
And when was that house built?
Yeah.
Here is the plans for that house. That
I think
was,
that's a pretty old house.
no, this is a brand-new house. It's been approved within the last year. It was done by our firm.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay, stand corrected.
So this is that house that sits directly in front of this house. And it has a second-story deck that's accessible from 2 bedrooms.
Right.
But
I was going to say,
that's on the street, no?
No, it's in the
This is the rear
rear.
of the house.
But there's probably, from that deck to the end of the property line, at least, 100 feet, maybe?
No, actually, this house is...
No,
Oh.
to the end of the property, to the far end of the property. It's a flagpole lot. To the far end of your client's property line.
Okay, so this house right here sits right here. This house that I'm showing you that was approved within this last year with the second-story deck sits approximately right here in this house. And the deck is right here, which is also,
Yeah, probably at the time it was presented, that was a vacant lot behind
No.
it, so.
But there's also a side lot issue.
but this is the same, this is the same neighbor.
I think we're sort of getting stuck on the deck here, and I think there's some other questions.
There's other issues.
Okay, go ahead. What other issues?
Sure. The dormer on the front, or the front door, the second-story dormer,
Okay,
the shed dormer,
okay.
yeah. Just sort of, to me, it's odd how it floats. It looks almost sort of modernish, or modern or postmodernish on an otherwise relatively traditional house. Did you think about other ways of either a gabled cover for that window, or
The gable just didn't look correct. The shed dormer was what looked the most pleasing, especially due to the roof over the front entryway. It was keeping with that theme and the sheds that are over, the bump outs on the front of the house.
Because they've raised the windows up, they
Oh,
can't use
that's
the other
right.
roof line because of the taller windows, is that correct?
Right, because we were trying to flood the foyer with light.
Let me just move on to some other questions. The columns on the side for the shed over the door that faces the driveway,
Yes.
there's something about those in that setting, and I guess you're trying to match the columns in front and back in terms of
Correct.
dimension?
Yes.
It's just too heavy there to me. It looks funny. In fact, that elevation, which would be, I think, the eastern elevation, looks weird.
Actually, these are smaller. These are only 8-foot columns, 8-inch columns, where the ones in the front are 12.
Okay, it still looks heavy for the footprint of that roof to me. And it happens to be also on a side where, for some reason, there's no fenestration on the first floor to the south of that door.
That's the kitchen. That's the kitchen wall.
Okay. Okay. Some kitchens have windows.
They do, but the kitchens are, the windows in the kitchen are actually on the back wall looking out into the backyard. So the main,
I don't need to go through the programming, I'm just commenting on the look of that wall, to me, is funny. You have a very heavy sort of pediment with pillars and a blank wall to the left, so something looks off balance to me.
Okay.
And I appreciate that this is far back on the property and not as visible from the road. The color of the siding is white?
Yes.
White shingles? Okay. I don't think that was on the plans, but, and the chimney is stucco, you said?
no, it's stone.
Okay, sorry. There are vents on the front, is that right?
Yes.
Are those functional vents
No,
on the
those are
gables?
decorative gable end bends.
Okay, if they're just decorative, if that's their purpose is to provide some relief, which I appreciate, to me, that's not achieving the end.
Well, they can be removed if,
Well, I like the idea, but having a rectangle that doesn't match anything else on the house, especially if they're not functional,
Especially if it's white.
is, to me, is odd. So I'd love to see maybe another stab at something that could break up the top of that pediment on that gable end, on those
Okay.
gable ends. Those are my questions and thoughts.
so if we just, I'm trying to, because I have to present this back to my client. So if we were to, is it, are you saying no to any deck? On the second floor?
Any deck there.
Yeah, on that side, yes, for me, on that side, definitively, yes. Especially in light of it, one, out of personal concern, as a board member, two, there are a number of flag lots in the community, and I think this is going to be an increasing problem for the board, because the flag lots are, especially when they're like that, there can be 4 houses from either side of it, back to back. And so, and in light of a neighbor's concern. So, yeah, for me, Lori, that deck on the west side is a killer.
I also think it looks really awkward architecturally, the whole thing with that chimney. It just seems,
I mean, no matter what, the chimney's going to be there, whether I
That's
take
fine,
the
but
deck
it
off
doesn't
or
have a
not,
big
because
open
of the great room
it's
fireplace.
it just, it's screaming out to me that just none of this goes together. The deck with the chimney, the open space, it just, the post, to me, it just doesn't work.
I did have one other question, Lori, quickly. On the front here, above these, there's slightly bay windows on the front, right?
Right.
And effectively, the roofs of those is this continued flare, basically?
Correct.
Just goes down further over
Correct.
those?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm not in love with that. How big is that metal roof on the front porch there? I didn't mind the side one. I
will be happy to take all of the metal roofs off and change them
I
to
have
cedar.
looked. I really think it cheapens the neighborhood in a weird way. I'm sorry we ever said yes to any of them, but certainly in the front. The side I could live with. But
I would definitely be consistent, so I would
Okay,
either do
fine.
metal
That'd be great.
or all cedar.
I really think it would, you don't need more elements. But I have to agree with, there is something really askew with that deck, the deck with the chimney. It just, even architecturally, I think it just doesn't work. So somehow somebody has to reconfigure something. And is it even legal to have a gas fire in the chimney coming out? I mean, how, onto, in the second
As long as
floor?
it has a separate
Yeah,
flue.
it has, you would have two separate flues
Oh, I
coming up
see.
through the chimney.
Okay.
One would go to one side and one would
I
go
got it.
to the other.
Okay, well, I hope that's not going to even be an issue. All right, any other comments? Anyone from the public? So popular. Are you asking us to approve your request to adjourn till the next meeting?
Which is?
December 10th.
Yes.
Make a motion that we approve the applicant's request to adjourn this application until December 10th.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. It's not good, this one either.
I'm sorry.
Amendments, right?
I'm sorry, you want this?
Does this all go here? I think it did. Wait, where's the building permit? Oh, you've got the building permit. All right, that we definitely use the building.
This could have completely, I totally forgot. I got up the plane
We don't have affidavits. We literally cannot, we have no standing to even ask.
I'm sorry, it's my fault completely. I got off the plane and totally forgot about it.
Yes, that way.
Do we have any feedback from you or?
No, we can't discuss it unless we don't have jurisdiction unless it's been posted and mailed. We
It
actually,
has been posted and mailed, but I totally forgot to.
well,
It's,
Anything we can do, Bo?
no, we can't, it really is, it's a legal thing, it's not, we're not trying to be mean to you. So are you asking us to adjourn to our next meeting on
No
December?
adjournment necessary.
Oh, there isn't? Oh, right, no, it didn't open. Okay.
We just have no,
We can't open it, we
Discretion
can't
there.
discuss it, we can't do anything. Okay, sorry.
You waited so long.
So, what do I say, no?
Is this it?
Sorry, Jeff. Sorry.
Is that it? No, nobody?
that was power.
That's it. This is adjourned.
Okay. That concludes applications non-historic for this evening. We're moving on to public hearings historic. First application, Carol Welsh. There's a letter requesting an adjournment. I don't know if it's an adjournment to, do we have that?
I make a motion.
I
Well,
didn't see
till
the letter
when?
in the file earlier, but let me double check.
December 10th?
You have that on your?
No? Just adjourn it to December 10th.
Okay, motion to adjourn the application of Carol Welsh, 340 Hill Street, till our next meeting on December 10th.
Second.
Aye.
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 Application.
Morgan and Robin Grace.
Next application, Morgan and Robin Grace, 292 Ox Pasture Road, demolition of existing single-family dwelling. Is that you?
Yep.
Okay.
Evening.
Please introduce yourself, Mr. Bennett.
John Bennett, Bennett and Reed, 212 Goodloe Lane, Southampton, New York, for the applicant. Let me
I've already seen this.
Thank you, sir.
I see.
Let me lay some things out so that I can refer to them during the presentation and hopefully be brief and succinct to the point. Let me start. I'll give you all a copy of this, but I'll put it on the table. I think it's probably the most helpful thing for the purposes of what I'm about to talk about. It's an aerial photograph. This is a unusual, the lot is very unusual in shape. The house fronts the lot fronts both on Ox Pasture and Halsey Neck, but only a certain portion of the lot, which, by the way, my office recently obtained a variance to place a tennis court in that portion. It's sort of a odd barbell-shaped lot. You see? It almost looks like, we're not quite sure. We tried for a long time to figure out how the lot came into existence, including examination of the deeds, but to no avail. Couldn't find a copy of any land use approvals on it. So it really predates modern village land use regulations. But the important thing for everyone to notice is that the house, which you're requesting a certificate of appropriateness to demolish, is in the far back of this very oddly shaped lot, totally not visible from the public right-of-way. It is not a contributing structure, although the property is in the historic district. We did look at the contributing structure list, which I'll put in the record just for the sake of completeness, and it is not contained on that list. So you're not dealing with a contributing structure. These are photographs of the house. We haven't been able to find any records whatsoever about the history of the house. I think it's fair to say that these additions that I'm showing to you are rather modern, relatively speaking, based upon the roof line and the structure, the materials, and the fact that you have what appears to be even a tough attempt, even at best, to recreate divided light there. So the purpose of the application is to demonstrate to you that the property is not at all visible from the street, and that's important because Section 65.4 establishes the purview of this board, which is limited to reviewing the appearance of a property, quote, to the extent that it is visible from a public street, other right-of-ways, or park. I also have for you some additional photographs.
I'm sorry. So you had attempted to find out when this house was built, but you couldn't find out?
There's no evidence as to when it was.
Okay, fine. Just curious. It's a cute house.
Yeah, I believe, if memory serves me well, this was originally Ruddy's. Mrs. Ruddy owned this house back in the 60s and 70s.
And did Mrs. Ruddy own both of these pieces of property? To me, it's two conjoined lots.
Couldn't figure the strangest configuration. Have you ever seen a configuration like that? Bizarre.
Well, I would think that it would be two lots with a little driveway between them myself, just out of common sense. Not that it matters now.
There was an application made back in the 80s to subdivide the lot, but since even
to make it two lots.
Yeah. But since even combined, the two lots don't have the area of 3 acres. The board denied the request.
Denied. Okay.
So
I know that. So they were going to put the tennis court up there, right?
There's the variance was.
I remember that.
Yep. And then I added some just additional authority from the board, which I'll leave to you for your consideration. The application, Don Calder's application. If you know the Calders, that house of theirs is down a long right-of-way off of First Neck Lane. Similar situation. You can't see the house. The house is, as with this house, is blocked not only by the length of the driveway, but also other single-family residences in the way, and also the Phillips Edward case. So. I think there are two things here. From a jurisdictional point of view, I don't think that's an issue, but even if you had jurisdiction just for your own comfort, I don't think there's anything remarkable here. So, and it's not a contributing structure. I'll just leave that in your hands. That's pretty much all I have to say, unless there are any questions, of course.
I don't have any comments. I think it's pretty straightforward. I used to live.
What are they planning to do?
They're going to build a different house, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to build something.
They're going to build something. They don't have any plans.
It'll be a surprise, Rob.
But it'll come before your board.
We'll have the plan.
Understand.
And I'm not trying to be.
Understand. I'm just curious as to why they'd asked to have it demolished before they knew what they were building. Why not combine the two? It seems a little odd to me to come in and ask.
They're having a tennis court right by the street. We already went through that once before. I don't have any
I think
objections.
frankly, the property's on the market, so it makes it easier to market if there is no question as to a demolition.
They've done part of the
Someone
work.
buys it and likes that little house. Okay, is there any comment, anyone from the public who wants to speak? Obviously.
But I'll put just a stake in the ground.
Yeah, no, we can put a stake in the ground.
John is correct in making his statement about the jurisdictional authority by code. I find that's somewhat absurd, and at some point would look to approach the trustees on changing that aspect of the code. If a house is historic, it shouldn't matter whether it's visible or not.
Well, that's a whole separate.
I know. So, as I said,
The fortunate thing is this one isn't, so you don't have to struggle.
a stake in the ground, and be that as it may. So other than that, I have no objections.
Okay, does anyone else?
Interesting metaphor.
Well, that's another day.
Don't take
Rob?
it personally, John.
Oh, no.
Do you have any objections?
No, I understand that. You're not being.
No, about the stake.
I think we're accepting your argument here.
Thank you.
I'm going to make a motion to accept the application of Morgan and Robin Grace to
Approve.
demolish the single-family
Grant
dwelling.
the application, approve the application.
Oh, and this is ours, sorry. It's actually not to approve, it's to refer for written decision by council.
Oh, that's correct.
A decision to demolish the building at 292 Ox Pasture Road.
Great. Second?
Aye.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Great.
So we stamp two of these?
Yeah, anything that's stamped is.
They're not stamped.
This one is.
Oh.
Okay, we just did a little paper shuffling. Bear with us.
This is another aerial, do you need it?
No, it has nothing to do with approving it, does it? Maybe someone will buy it and they'll just like it.
Live on this house?
I think it's cute.
Taking everything that's not stamped.
Plus, that's a great location, I gotta say.
John, I mean, it's close, but just out of curiosity, so there's no plans to actually demo it? So they're just, they're going to, they're going to pocket the demo permit? Is that, and this is just curiosity.
They're not going to knock the house down now, are they? He doesn't know, he's not saying.
I don't want to commit one way or the other.
No,
because I don't
again,
want to be
this is-
accused of having.
We've already closed, so that's fine.
Maybe they could find someone who liked a little house finally. Are we ready? Next is LF 57 Main Street LLC, 57 Main Street. Change exterior storefront of commercial building. This was Rose Jewelers, and now it was sold? Oh, no, they didn't own the, it's just one. Okay, it's being changed. Okay, state your name, please, sir.
John Laffey, architect.
Thank you.
And John, do you have affidavits for us?
I do, yes.
These are, here, I'll take that one.
These are small copies of everything that gave you in file.
I don't need, I've seen this like 12 times. Yes.
And there's Mr. Jeff.
Okay. Thank you. You guys want it? Since you're going to like to let me see them. There you go.
Rose Jewelers.
Rose Jewelers went out of business.
Yeah, she retired.
Jan Rose was sick, and she, after all those years, she retired.
Nice lady. So, John Laffey for the owner. They wish to refurbish the front facade of the building, or the front entry. And they would like to, I'd like to put the building back, the entrance of the building back on center. And I have here just some examples of, these are two storefronts that I've done in the past in the village. I picked these pictures only because These have the mullion work in them, and you can see these are both on center. There's a center door, and there's two storefronts, left and right. And so these windows are very similar to the ones that we like to put on for the Rose Jewelry store, or for the future store, I apologize. And then this is the last facade I had done in the village. This was the old stationery store. Same thing, it used to be off center. I moved the entry to the building back on center, but here it's a little more contemporary because it is next to Cantina, so I didn't want to match with that. But it's on center and has just a lot of glass in it for display. This has a little more detail in it. It has somewhat like the cleaners. It'll all be white, and it's glass. It'll have pilasters, 4 pilasters that will surround each of the buildings, each of the windows as it goes in. And in the old rose facade, I tried to make it a little more symmetrical and a little more traditional. And so I put a little pediment on there, and I know it might be an issue. So I brought some pictures of some pediments that are in fact in the village that I think might be hopefully keeping. I just didn't want to there's an awful lot of buildings in the village that have a lot of square tops on them that are one story in nature, and I thought, gosh, it might be nice to do something a little different to draw a little more attention to symmetry about the front of the house, and also because there's there's that alley between Hildreth's and the store. So I do think you'll see more of that. You may not really recognize that from these photographs, but I think it'll help the elevation. And yeah, there are certainly impediments within. These are pediments on Main Street, on Job's Lane, and these are...
Charlie, would you mind just zooming in on those so we can see the pediments that he's just put down, those photographs on the right of the plan? Yeah, the ones to the right of the plan. Exactly. He's touching. Those 4 that are all in a row there.
There.
Thank you.
And I think because it's not a very tall building, see, we tried to align all the glass with Corvus next door. So we try to keep this sort of horizontal alignment of the street going. And I thought it might be nice just to break up this facade with a pediment, because there's one here over on Hildreth's also has a little one. It's more of a gable, the infill they did a couple of years ago. And I didn't have the back. I didn't really draw out. We're going to be restuccoing all the sides. It's a block building, and we're going to take up that metal. There's an old metal facade on the back, and there's a new the garbage tin enclosure. We'll do a new white one made of AZAC. We'll hide all that right now. It's pretty decrepit.
I didn't go in the back. That's it.
That's all I have.
And all the trim will be painted white?
All painted white, yeah.
And the pediment will have that...
Starburst.
Yeah, starburst.
You'll have starburst on it?
Yeah.
It's about 36 inches
Yeah, no,
high.
I just want to make sure that's part of it, because I like it.
Yeah, it comes out a little bit. The entry, the detail of it you would ask for is... Take a bigger close-up of it. So I'm just going to basically take this, the crown detail, and stick it up about 10 inches to create this pediment. And I think it helps focus the attention on the front door. It gives a little detail.
I had 2 quick questions. One, the paneling up on top on that parapet area is that inset sort of the same way the paneling is below the windows, or it's raised paneling in each case?
It's a flat panel. It'll have
an
applied detail into it
on the top.
Inside of it?
Yeah.
Right here?
Is that similar treatment to underneath the windows?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a trim underneath?
Yeah, that detail, both
raised
these,
trim?
Yes, both these would be the same detail. The flat panels would reset with that.
My only comment is I would love to see that parapet wall wrap a little further to the west when it comes down the alley. If you go to the, must be the south elevation.
It's made out of cinder block, isn't it a block, cement?
No, up on top. I'm talking about...
I know.
Yeah.
But it's just like a flat wall.
But so I'm just showing
it's a zero lot line building. Mr. Hildreth owns that property.
Okay, so I don't...
You would be infringing. We are talking with him, so about trying to help make the facade prettier, but right now it's just.
I'm just wondering on this elevation in particular, because
Yeah,
it's pretty visible, whether this
All the paneling on top of that.
pediment could come back maybe sort of in line with either the column or the window. It just seems to float at a somewhat random spot there, and I think it would give more substance to it, which I think the building deserves, unless you disagree or I'm missing something architecturally.
I don't disagree.
Because otherwise, I really like these improvements, and I even like the starburst and the pediment.
Susan, can I jump in?
Yes, yes.
I don't think this is covered by the code, but certainly our guidelines address the concept of creating something to look like something that's not in a historic district. And I find this is a little too Victorian, too decorative. Whereas White's Apothecary, I think, is quite elegant and quite plain, and therefore isn't saying, I'm really a Victorian building, whereas this, with its brackets and its faux starburst thing and its faux pilasters and its multi-paned transom lights, it's very 1890s. And I think it's too self-consciously trying to look like an old building. And I think it would be much simpler and aesthetically very pleasing, but I think there's just too much detail.
I hear you.
Emphasizing that in terms of our
I hear him, but I disagree. I like the little bit of the throwback. I mean, we're looking at a 1950s facade, and we're now.
Sure.
I don't find it kitschy. I don't find it schlocky, whether those are terms, but I find it cute. And I think and we're going to be hearing other cases where people want to homogenize the look of the town, so I give John credit for trying to create some variety. And yeah, if it's a bit of a throwback, I don't think we're creating a Stepford-type village.
There's a distinction. I mean, if you're taking an existing building of a certain period or style, whatever, and I think we have something coming up on the agenda, where you're replicating architectural elements that are of that period, so that they blend with what you're doing, so they don't assert themselves. That's that case. But if you're taking an entire facade, which admittedly what's there is not architecturally worth.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay. It's not like a great 50s facade. Okay. But to transform it into something attempting to be a very distinct other historic period in the historic district when it's a new building is not encouraged in the guidelines. In fact, that's considered to be not a desirable approach.
So would
it could just be simplified.
So by like the raised panel department, I mean,
the panels may be okay. We don't want to design, you don't want to design a thing, but maybe brackets and the pediment with the fan.
Right. So maybe I think it's a little
busy.
Yeah. I like the windows. I don't mind that pediment, but I hear what you're saying. In the first floor, I think there's a lot going on that maybe could be simplified.
It's just a suggestion because that's
if you change these, I don't know. I don't know what you can use.
If you had full windows, is that what you're thinking?
No, I'm just
There's not a lot of pediments next door, so it's not as if that end of the street is without its pediment.
Maybe it doesn't need to be so fancy.
Maybe it's a little simpler.
We certainly could, like, I did pilasters, whereas on the White's Apothecary, I didn't. They're sort of implied, but they're actually just panel. They're just panel work. They're not the horizontal elements of a pilaster. They're just the vertical line of the sill of the window, and then the top of the window casing. So these are, again, they're just more panel work. They wouldn't be considered pilaster per se.
They're just, I think that would be a big help. And then we could leave the raised panels. I don't mind much. I don't actually mind it, but I do think that the first floor with if you simplified those, it wouldn't detract from your design, and perhaps it would make it more elegant. Wow. I'm surprised I said that, but And I do think that white's, I was just looking at it today and thinking how handsome it was, by the way, at 5 a.m. with the Starbucks. I was thinking, well, that looks great in there. So maybe you could just simplify it some, and come back to us?
Sure, we can simplify it.
What if also the brackets, what if the second one in on each end went away and the raised paneling elements, both above and below the windows, were, instead of being 5 up top, were 3 up top? And down below were 1 on each side?
Yeah, that would be good. Then you'd really have simplified it.
Because I like that detail, but it's just, there's
Too many.
there's too much of it.
Yeah. Okay?
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
is there anyone from the public? So would you like to come back to our next meeting?
That'd be terrific.
I'm just going to make a motion that we accept the applicant's request to come back to adjourn this item until our next meeting.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stamp set. It's just like, the things that go up and down, where on white, it's just like a,
thank you.
comes out. Rather than
So you're talking about making it flush?
Not flush, I think it comes out around the windows.
Oh, okay.
But, and below, it feels like, you can make 3, or about 3, and then just 1. And I think that it'll still have details, but it won't have so many details. It's very kitschy.
I think that was right. Next application, PMA Southampton LLC, 40 Bowden Square, exterior alterations to restaurant.
Hey all, it's DeVito, I'm representing 40 Bowden Square.
Frank.
Okay.
So we're doing a rehabilitation of the existing fenestration, siding, and fascia. So because there was basically a mishmash of windows there, we tried to come up with something that might have worked, so we went with a 2/2 style, which was in part of the older part of the building. And that's the majority of the window that we're putting in. We'd like to take out the glass block and continue with the...
Last block.
We want to get rid of that. I hope I'm dead by the time glass block becomes a
I haven't seen it lately, actually.
Hope I'm long gone. And with that, we're going to continue with the old windows that were there. They were like a pivot. So we're hoping, we found a lot of the frames were in good shape. So we're looking to rehabilitate the frames, stick with the weight and chains, replace the sash. These are not cheap vinyl windows. We're not putting crap in.
That's nice, good.
We're putting in a good mahogany style wood window to really do with the weight and chains. And the siding, we're continuing with the cedar siding with the existing covered gray that's on there now, and fascia, everything else, all the trim's going to be white. So we're kind of...
So you're not changing anything of the actual elements of the building except for the windows that you were trying to make more uniform and repairing and replacing if you have to, is that correct?
There's good bones in that place, but there's a lot of leaks, a lot of problems. And we just, they're really looking to rehabilitate that whole building, which I think is fantastic.
So the burger bar can get going?
Yeah, so the burger bar can get maybe 2 signs. And the great thing is, look, they're not putting it on a gable, they're not, they're really trying to keep it down low.
No, we see that, I think. Does anyone?
I just want to make sure, I think you say you're renovating or repairing the railing on the top as needed on the Widow's Walk. So the caps that are there now in the photograph on the posts will remain?
I have no photographs with me.
Okay, sorry. So there's this photograph, but
yes,
there are, let me point to it. There's a cap up here somewhere on those posts, the rendering just shows them as flat posts, I assume, that, which looks a little frat house-ish.
We're going to go exactly with what we have.
Okay.
It's a true rehabilitation, it's a true...
Well, it sounds like it's, we're just hoping that it's actually
I have
happening.
a couple of questions.
Yeah.
These are contributing buildings. There's some ambiguity in the record because 40 Bowden Square per se is not listed as a contributing property. So there may be, I don't know if you're aware of the fact that these are contributing buildings in the historic district. The one marvelous detail of the gambrel-roofed house, which stands at the corner, that I've always admired, are the wonderful 6/6 sashes on the attic story. And so, while the concern of this board is certainly not what the use of the rooms is, but oftentimes upgrading windows, the argument is thermal and heat retention and livability, etc. If these are not living units, but rather upper stories used to stick large jugs of ketchup in or whatever, then I wouldn't say that there's an argument for replacing those wonderful original window sashes. And as I come down North Sea Road to that intersection, I look up. It's a very fabulous house. It's one of the very few. It has the gambrel roof with the upper pitch so flat that it is nearly a flat roof. And that was something happening in the 1840s. So I'm just saying that for me is a kind of a wonderful feature, and I just would want to know what living, usable, habitable purpose is being achieved. Is this is living space?
So this is not, there is actually something written that it cannot be used as living space, so there's no apartments up there, it's not a hotel, it's just all storage upstairs. There's 2 offices on the second floor, the 2, proprietors, and the rest of it is just vacant. And it's a shame because it would make beautiful.
That would be a great place. Anyway, I'm just
workhouse
saying that these are some very good original architectural features to that facade, and if there isn't a compelling reason.
Well, are you?
So are those
windows, I thought you said the windows were staying.
Well, these are shown as 2/2, so I think these sashes are all being replaced to regularize the entire 2 buildings.
Most of the windows on the first floor of that structure
have already been.
On the second and third, well, the first floor is casement windows largely in the...
And this 1870s house, the one further to the south, it's appropriate to have 2/2 sashes, whether that's what it had to begin with or not, it doesn't matter. But these are 2 different houses of 2 different periods. It's one big restaurant now, but architecturally, you still read it as 2 separate buildings.
So you would
of 2
prefer,
different periods.
so how do we assure that?
Okay, so this north facade of the corner house retains its original sashes on the upper stories. And I think those are character-defining features.
So can we do that?
So
he wants...
It's these guys.
These are
all the 6/6
as well. They're 6/6, and they're quite strange because the panes are rather square.
Yes.
And that's unusual for the period, but they're some sort of an adaptation to the space that was available. So they're quite unusual, they're rather special, and I would say failing any compelling use to upgrade the use.
Zach, on this elevation, not where they jammed 8/8 and there's a mishmash here, just this elevation?
Just that elevation,
So
the north elevation,
if you would think,
upstairs.
I would go with 6/6 on that.
I think they're there, yeah.
But you wouldn't then on the other elevations?
The original ones, not change them.
I'm just suggesting, as an original architectural feature, to preserve them, not to just replicate them
preserve
if
them?
new, because if it's new, it doesn't really matter.
Well, if there's historic fabric left on them, some of these sashes we will preserve and do.
Well, that
So
would be
if
the
we
case
open it
there.
up,
Well, Zach seems to be very interested in having those 6/6s preserved.
Would you mind?
Can you go look?
I would go take a look.
Zach needs to go
Take a
look.
look and sort of give you some, not advice, but rather identification. for
Okay,
identification
I agree.
purposes.
Okay, so you go
Fabric
look.
there, we would
Okay,
preserve.
that would be appreciated, because I think that's something that's rather special about that building.
I don't know how much fabric's left on there though, because they've been deteriorating, but we'll take a look.
Okay.
I mean,
That'd be great.
replication, it would be an exact replication.
Yeah, it's not the same thing.
Oh, believe me. I've done treasury.
Okay, so I'll
So we're
make an
going to have
arrangement
to,
for
so
you
Zach's going to meet with you or something?
soon, later this week.
And then,
if
are we
possible,
coming
keep
back, are
this
you coming
meeting.
back on December 10th?
I guess I am.
Is there any public
Frank? Is there any public commentary? Yeah. No?
Sounds
Anyone?
like we love what you're doing, but
So you're
on
not
this one
moving any
issue,
doors? Okay.
I just want to see what can be
Okay.
done. If you're willing to meet with Zach, that's great.
I think it is really historic, so Zach needs to go over there and talk with Frank.
Look,
Okay?
it's a key point in the village.
Yeah,
It
it's
really
quite a
is.
landmark right at
Now
that.
that it's going to have a hamburger
visual.
bar, it might be even more of a key point.
So
We're sorely in need of something.
That goes to the left, burgers to the right.
Yes, that's right.
I will make a motion that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn the application for PMA Southampton LLC, 40 Bowdoin Square, to our next meeting.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, 472 First Neck Lane LLC, 472 First Neck Lane. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Arthur Fraser, and I'm the architect for the owners, Ken and Anna Fox at 472 First Neck Lane. You all have the smaller set of drawings, I think, that
Yeah, they do.
you have.
The small sets have the existing and
Yep.
the three.
Okay.
Great.
Only one.
Even though the board has already approved the design for the project, the owners have continued to work with their immediate neighbors, as well as the broader Southampton community, to come up with a design that will continue to meet their needs, but resolve some of the concerns that the other parties had. To try to reconcile some of these issues, we first addressed the proximity of the addition to massing, particularly to the immediate neighbor to the north. If you can look at the east elevation, which I think is your second sheet. I made a little color diagram here on this. I have a cold, excuse me.
Everyone in here has a cold.
I'll sit back.
Right. And as you can see by this larger elevation, that we reduced the expansion on the first floor by 9 feet, and more significantly, the expansion on the second floor by 10.5 feet. We further reduced the additional overall GFA by 240 square feet. And we have, many letters in the file. If you don't mind, I'll just read something from Simiak Sami, who was the consultant architect for the neighbors, who said this new 22 by 30 foot deep second floor footprint capped with a shorter pyramid roof, rather than the approved flat roof, is not only more responsive and subservient to the original Mocamonto mass, but its impact on both neighbors is less and architecturally more pleasing. Excuse me. So that being said about the massing, I'd like to discuss how we got to these changes architecturally. The first thing we did was to identify the elements that make Mocamonto special, or its particular elements, which you can see most evidently in the south elevation. And that would be the exceptional height of the building, the acute angles of the roof, the symmetry of the east and south elevations in particular, the wraparound porches, the rhythm of the window patterns, the details, the mullion details of the windows, that sort of prairie detail, and the use of shutters, and the frieze board and upper details of the porches. So our challenge going forward was to take these elements into account and to propose an addition that would be responsive to the existing architecture, but remain subservient to the Mocamonto, the existing Mocamonto. We took the details and incorporated some of them while intentionally omitting others. First, we propose that the height of the addition be limited to 8 feet 2 inches lower than the existing structure, again, maintaining the subservience of the height. We did incorporate the porches into the design because we felt they help reduce the visual scale of the north and west elevations, which are quite vertical and meet the ground abruptly. We also wanted the porches to create a detail that's historically a component of the Southampton summer colony, which is to have a front door with a porch. We see this especially in the front or west elevation. The addition also uses the acute angles of the roof line and the rhythm of the mullion pattern in windows. Another detail we retained is the incorporation of the lead set glass at the front door and side doors. And in particular, we refrained from using a lot of the fascia and porch details, once again, to not detract from the detailing of the original Mocamonto. And in the absence of any evidence that I know of, we propose to finish the addition as per the existing structure in naturally aged cedar shingles and white trim. We feel that's consistent with the way it stands today and in the summer cottages in the vicinity. So in summary, we propose a design that will refurbish the iconic views of Mocamonto and build an expansion that is harmonious with the existing structure. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, I'd like to say that I thought, I like your design, and I think that I was originally opposed to the approved plan because it took away from the verticality, which I agree is the prominent feature of this house historically, and how weird it is, actually. I like the weirdness more than I can say. And I have read all the letters in the file, and although it is the decision of this board, it's good to decide on this if it's appropriate. I do think that it's commendable that the owner and the neighbors have worked to come out with what I think is a smaller and more appropriate approach to expanding Mocamonto. So thank you. Anyone else here?
Guys have comments?
Huh?
Well, yeah, I'd like to put it in the context of understanding my vote in the past. And I concur with Susan's sentiments and the work you did. As you folks know, I tend to err on the side of preservation. And my vote against the original proposal is that it takes away from a house that exists in its current structure as it did originally. You know, maybe there may be a few details one way or the other, which is a very rare thing in this community. And this is a particularly historic house, one of the original houses. The Betts brothers were part of the original colony. I mean, they were largely responsible for what's the third most significant epoch in the town's history. Native American settlement, English settlement, and the summer colonization. I mean, they were at the forefront of it. And this house represents all of those things. So my vote originally was that this house not be touched in any way, shape, or form. In a bit of irony, the Betts were, to some extent, responsible for the fact that there are any houses built along Dune Road, Meadow Lane, and Gin Lane, because at one time in 1892 they argued for property rights to extend down to the beach, and there was, through several years of appeal, they prevailed, which meant that houses could be built, otherwise given to the town. So out of the process of this, my wish is several-fold, but it's not going to change me from differing from Susan's opinion, which is I wish the village had landmarked this site. I wish the village was more aggressive in landmarking homes of significance. I realize that's a challenge. I don't know how many houses might be left to even landmark, if that's possible. I wish the applicant had a different view of stewardship when it was first presented to the board. I wish the applicant had listened to the community of the 2,000 or so that signed petitions of concern. I wish that the applicant had listened earlier to the neighbors, because as a result of this process, I dare say hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent. There was angst, there was animosity. I think that was unnecessary, but it happened. So we are where we are. And if I were to stick with my vote of staunch preservation, not to touch anything, we would revert back to the approved plan. I think your plan, and like Susan said, the elements that you've been able to maintain in terms of the verticality, the wraparound porches, the fact that the expansion is done out of view, and that the most significant part of the facade, or I should say the most visible part of the facade to the public, is maintained. So that being said, I have no further objections. I compliment everybody on their continued efforts. Was the process perfect? No, it wasn't. Did we end up with a acceptable compromise result? Apparently by the letters and the fact that there are only the diehards out here that we have. So with that, at least I'm okay.
I'd just like to say that we all worked very hard on this application and spent many hours agonizing over it and considering it. I'd like to applaud the owner for being willing, in the face of having an approval, to sit down with his neighbors and come up with something that everybody was much more happy with. And I think that you have done that with this plan. But it was not an easy application. So thank you.
So I will first add my voice to the chorus. I'm glad that the neighbors sat down. It would have been great if it happened that way a little more to begin with, but that's no one's fault, and we are where we are, as Jeff has said. I have 3 questions, and then I have a few concerns. I generally like what you've done, but here are my questions. On the south elevation, the porch to the west comes up to a roof line that, by what I'm seeing on this elevation, doesn't actually come to the corner of the building, as the porch roof does on the east side. Do you see what I'm saying?
On this elevation?
So this roof line here seems to come up to its ridge line, if you will, a foot or so off of the building. Is that a drafting issue, or am I misreading that? I'm just wondering why that is, because it doesn't appear on other porch roofs.
On the south elevation?
So I'm looking at the south elevation, and this porch line, this porch roof on the west side, the angle where it goes horizontal to its ridge, if you will, is offset off of the corner of the building. Is that just an optical illusion, or is there a purpose for it?
This porch is the new front porch?
Correct.
Oh, I see that little tiny. That's just a drafting. No, it's just that comes right off the corner.
So it's going to do what these others do.
Yes.
I just wanted to check that. Thank you.
Right.
The roof angle of the new window dormers on the second floor. What determines that? Because we've got a couple different roof angles going on here, and as you said, roof angles are very particular to this building. It seems like, and it's one of my concerns and objections to the previously approved plans, was that we were adding in some dormers that had a new roof angle to them. What determines the roof angle for instance, on the proposed south elevation, that western wing has a new dormer on the third floor, on the third floor. Yeah. What was it that the height of that roof, you wanted to match that to the height of other dormer roofs, and therefore you just were given the width of the window and that was the angle? Is that
exactly? Yeah.
Okay. So it's the total height of that roofing elevation
in proportion to the rest of the roofs.
Okay, thank you. And then on the north elevation, I'll just flip to it. There's porches that don't have railings on them. I guess the one on the east side has a staircase, but the porch on the west side of the north elevation that shows a figure standing in it. It doesn't have a railing on it, and I'm just wondering why that is.
The original one doesn't have railings, does it?
The original one has railings everywhere, the porch.
This guy here.
And the same is true actually on the south elevation for that same porch.
Right. We sort of left out the railings so that you could tell more readily what areas were, but where railings are needed, where we're above the 18 inches, we would add them to match the other railings.
Okay,
So they were
that's my
intentionally
question.
omitted and
So in terms of how this will look at the end of the day, I'm wondering then, on these elevations, was the railing omitted when there wasn't 18 inches of, when there's 18 inches or less of elevation? So that's what we should expect to see or not see in terms of railing?
we were trying to, again, to keep particularly the front elevation, the west.
West, yep.
Without railings, and that's pretty close to the, the three risers or the 18 inches. So we'd prefer that, to keep it sort of a cleaner elevation and again, not compete with the existing Mocamonto. We'd rather omit some of those details.
Okay. My concern, then you're splitting the baby here. If you're trying to recreate the porches in the same proportions with the same materials, but you're leaving railings off of there, I'm not sure I understand the principle of it. To me, that west elevation looks a little bit bare, but because of that lack of railing, I think to me, it's an important omission. And I get why you don't have to, but I don't think you can make a good argument about wanting to differentiate that porch from the original, because everything else about this design is really not differentiable. But that's a concern. And I like what you've done, I really do. I'm concerned about something Zach has alluded to before, which is, there are principles about wanting to be able to differentiate old work from new. And people have mentioned the height of the roof being so distinctive here. We're creating, in this proposal, some roof lines that have the same shape and compete more closely with it in height than either what exists or what's already been approved. So I just have a concern, we're sort of wrapping that original form with some roofs that, in my mind, with all due respect to Mr. Sammy, aren't subservient. They're more competitive with the original design than what's been approved, in my opinion. It's a subjective opinion.
Right. Well, but it's impossible to have a pitched roof that doesn't have some elevation. So the main thing we wanted to get away from, say, in the east elevation, was that flat roof. So you have to have a pitch, you have to have an elevation.
And there's competing interests.
And we're considerably back, let's say in the east elevation, that roof is set back some 8 or 9 feet before it even takes off. So
because of the porch.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that in terms of differentiation and subservience, I have concerns about the roof line. And the last thing I'm going to say is just one about, there is a principle from the Department of Interior about making sure any additions to an historic structure are done in such a way that if they were to be removed in the future, the essential form of the original structure would be maintained. And I just have a concern that we seem to be doing more in terms of penetrating and structuring the new gables and the new roof lines into the original structure on this proposal than before. And we're also shifting the center of access for the west facade from being off-centered to being centered in the chimney, which is, to me and to a lot of people, in some ways more pleasing, but it is a change to the structure. And so I just raise those as concerns for other board members. Maybe they don't share those concerns.
Well, I would read from the guidelines of the Architecture Review Board. Alterations should be compatible with the historic character of the property as well as nearby houses. Upper story decks that may impinge upon neighbors' privacy are discouraged. The former approval had 2 second-story decks on it, which couldn't be worse in terms of privacy and, in fact, danger.
Where were the second-story decks? Sorry.
Oh, and the approved, down below, the bottom picture.
Yep.
So I'm saying that sort of extensive, again, if you refer to the east elevation, that extensive flat roof is And
That wasn't a deck, though, that wasn't accessible.
well, there are windows that go out there, and a 14-year-old kid's going to get out there. And you have the same thing on what was approved on the north, which is the same, the old, again, you can, on the west elevation, you see there was another flat deck on the front. And I would argue that if you look at the west elevation, and you use sort of an X-ray machine that looks through Mocamonto, all of these lines appear. And that elevation wants to be symmetrical, and I would assume it was.
Yeah, I thought there was once discussion about where the
Because I would
where
say,
the front door
I would say that there's,
the back door was. Is that right? Yes, I remember that.
I would bet there's no way that that's built that home without a western porch.
But do we think that it was offset on the west side, the way it exists
It's impossible
today?
to tell because that got that very long
addition
back. And when you see it from the lake, the back facade, the west, got that very large addition in the boarding house, period.
The motel, like.
Not to diminish it, it was a good period.
It was a different,
It
it was a different
money
time.
maker.
Was it good for you?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
I have a quick question about, I'm just wondering, is this a true, in your new proposal, is this a real fireplace that leads to a chimney, or is that absorbed into the house somewhere?
That's would
That's
be a gas fireplace with a direct vent. So
I
we
see.
don't have the chimney element.
I was wondering where
that
the
comes
chimney
up.
went. Okay,
Yeah, the
fine.
chimney's
Because
gone.
we had a gargantuan chimney in this other proposal, which was
Right.
rather unsightly.
Right.
Okay, so that fireplace works, but it doesn't lead to
To a chimney, correct.
well, I still think you did a great job.
You don't have a concern about the railing issue on the west side?
You know,
or-
Rob, when push comes to shove, given that I hated the approved plan, which I thought was much bigger and much more intrusive into the actual visual impact of Mocamonto, no.
Okay. But my concern, Susan, is that we're not in a relative exercise here, even though it may appear that way.
Well, I don't want to
We-
be lectured to, Rob.
I'm not
so-
lecturing you, I'm just saying, you're saying you like it better than, but we're starting really from scratch here about, in considering a change to a contributing historic structure that received 10 months of scrutiny, and I want to make sure that for the sake of the fact that we all like it a little better than the
That's
last
okay.
proposal, we're not missing a detail that we're going to slap ourselves for in a year. So
The detail
that's
that
my
I
concern.
felt was slappable was the enormous addition that was approved by
Understand.
this board and not by me. So I'm much happier with this plan, and
And so I take it you're not concerned about the fact that there's not a railing on the west side?
that's
my
correct.
question.
Of all the things I'm not concerned about, that's one of them. Because
I also don't mind adding a railing on the west side, if that, makes you happy.
Other people don't share the concern.
I think that there should be a railing.
you do?
That's why I'm asking.
do.
Sometimes there's sort
Now
of
that
a
Rob has
walking off.
pointed it out, and if there's
Yeah.
no objection
What is
to
that?
it.
I mean, it
Well,
either
it's
requires a
not
railing.
that high, is it?
No,
No, it's
the
sort-
front, it's only 18 inches, yeah, which is.
So I think it's,
code.
okay, well, I'm not going to argue about it, whatever anybody wants. I thought it was sort of nice that you could drift off the porch if it's low, which when I went over there, I thought it was low. But that's the least, from my perspective, railings can be put on and taken off pretty quickly. It's the actual massing of the house and the attention to the verticality, which I've always felt was the major impact of Mocamonto, and I also feel that the additions have been put in areas that are hard for the public to see, so that the original facade, or whatever the facade is that's there, let's not, is pretty much intact in a way, and that this, if we don't, and the approved plan, I thought really denigrated the verticality. So for me, it's, I'm not that interested in picking apart small details of your plan because I think it's pretty well thought out.
I mean, if I'm being asked, or maybe implicitly asked to weigh in on the railing, yay or nay, this is on the west elevation, right, Arthur? That
Yeah.
we're looking at?
Yes.
So, from my view, the absence of a railing draws the eye more towards the vertical nature of the house, which is one of the elements that you're trying to preserve. So at least for the purposes of approving or not this proposal, my inclination and first shot is to approve it as drawn without the railing, and then if it's built and you want to add in the railing, I mean, I think you come back to us at this point. I mean, I'm not, to me, I don't think that architecturally the railing adds to the architectural value of it as much as it may be more consistent with the historic nature of it. So I know we're balancing, and I know I'm the one who said, hey, preserve, 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 but I sort of like it open, at least in the drawing.
Yeah, I mean, the thought is that that's where the driveway is, so people could just sort of come at the house from lots of different directions. And again, I thought it's the trick of doing it is the omission of details. You can't omit that many details, but I think that was one of the details. By omitting it, you actually preserved the original. So it's like leaving some of the original, even, again, on the front, I shouldn't point this out, but on the front porch, we're not proposing to put that sort of, I don't know what you call it, lattice work that's in the original.
Yeah.
So we were trying to, quote, clean up that elevation. So all the detailing of the original Mokamonto, which will be effectively restored, differentiates it. I mean, they're subtle differences, but they're
Right. Well, I thought if you read the Albany report, whatever that is called, that there is some idea that complete replication is a mistake.
Right.
But I thought that you honored that by not actually adding in so many details. And by the way, details can be added at another time. And we're making this like, is this for the next 100 years? Who knows? I hope so, but maybe not. But I think also it's much smaller, isn't it, the addition?
Yes. Yeah.
It is.
Which is a big point for me.
Yeah. That's sort of this.
Well, in square footage.
The colors there.
Yeah. Well, I didn't like that motel you had on the
I
side.
think this is a good plan. All right.
Is there any more comments from the board? Nope. From the, step forward and introduce yourself. Watch out.
I think that the new plan is really quite, I'm sorry, Regina Grieven, 375 Ox Pasture Road. I think the new plan is really quite wonderful in the fact that everyone likes it who is involved. And I'm sure that when you're refurbishing and renovating an historic house, a beautiful one, as you did, Rob, with your beautiful renovation of your house, I'm sure that you're always going to think, maybe I should have done that, and maybe that wasn't right. I mean, people always have these little thoughts. But as Rob did such a wonderful job, I think this is also a fantastic job. And I thank you, Arthur, for bringing the people together and getting everyone to really like what you did. Thank you very much, indeed.
Thank you. Anyone else? My biggest concern is not on these plans, which is the roof of that pool house that is completely...
That's under serious discussion.
Oh, great.
I think that's moving in the right
Because when you look across, that just doesn't...
complete eyesore.
Just as a mistake. I'm sorry. And I don't think it's that hard to fix. I'm sure you can think of a way.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Anyone else on the board?
We haven't commented on the garage, by the way, but that's part of this application as well, right? Which I think is great. Just for the
Sort of
record,
barn door garage.
we haven't had any commentary on it, but I like the principles of simplification that seem to have gone in there and function, and I think it's quite pleasing.
Christine?
I think this is a good plan.
I was just going to...
Gotta
say your name.
Christine Sullivan-Whitker, resident of the village. I was just going to say I grew up for 32 years in a Stanford White 1885 house, as I recall it's 1885, at 400 First Neck Lane. And I remember there were 2 steps going up, and the front was very open, and yes, there were railings, but they were not prominent. They were hidden sort of around the other sides, and I'm just saying that I don't know if that's related, but it would seem to me that openness is sort of nice. Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Well, it's going to written.
Oh, written decision. Motion to close.
I'll make a motion that we close the application of 472 First Nick Lane LLC for written decision by our council.
I second that.
Aye.
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 Great, good.
The end of a long chapter in the Architectural Review Board.
Thank you for all your work.
Congratulations, Arthur Fraser.
Thank you all. I know that I missed most of the excitement here, so
That's all right.
I
We
can
were
only
hoping
imagine.
not to have any.
I can only
I
imagine.
was. Oh,
And Rob, I thought all your points were excellent.
all right.
Wait.
I would have made some changes, but not enough to matter. And I wouldn't have done half the things or a quarter of the things that you did right to begin with, so
Could
congratulations.
I add a small footnote?
Sure.
My name is Reiner Grieven. I'm the very happy husband of the former witness. You were very wise to decide not to split the baby. Have a good evening.
We have a motion to close this meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation.
Make a motion that we close this meeting of the Board of Architecture.
November 26th.
And Historic Preservation on November 26, 2008.
All second? Aye.
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 Aye.